You're strapped in to a live radio broadcast on Pure Rock Radio.
Just about everyone and their dog has a website or uses a domain name like yourname.com. Thanks to our partnership with GoDaddy, the leader in hosting and domain name registration, we can offer all our listeners big savings on everything GoDaddy offers. Go to purerockradio.net/GoDaddy for a full list of coupon codes to save on hosting your website, registering your domain name, and much more. You can even switch to GoDaddy anytime to start saving, and our coupon codes will never expire. Every time you use one of our coupon codes, it benefits you, Pure Rock Radio, and all the shows we carry. So thanks for visiting purerockradio.net/GoDaddy today. Try coupon code POD167 to save 10% off your GoDaddy purchases today.
Welcome to the Used Bin. All music, all the time. What are you listening to? Used Bin Radio.
America! Come on, Joe, let's do a duet. America! Fuck yeah! Oh, you don't say that.
Hey, boys and girls, it's Tuesday night, and welcome. Welcome to Used Bin Radio. We want to thank you for joining us. If you're listening live, you're a hero. If you are listening to a podcast, we'll take it. Here's the ground rules. We want you to participate in the conversation this evening. Give us a call, 888-405-7440, or send us an email at usedbinradio@usebin.com.
It's nice to have you with us. Sorry about last week, everybody. We had some technical issues that were beyond our control, and what ended up happening was we used the Westwood One Studios here in beautiful Culver City, California, and they needed the studios for something else, and we got preempted. So that was the deal with that. But we're back, and we've got one hell of a show for you tonight. Let me tell you what we got going on. First and foremost, we have got progressive rock legend and former singer of SPOCKS BEARD, Neal Morse, joining us in the next 5 minutes or so. And, do we have a lot to talk to him about. There's a new Testimony 2 record coming out May 23rd. There's a tour starting on May 19th.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. So we're going to talk to him about that. And then later on in the show, we are going to talk to music journalist and author ANIL PRASAD. He's the author of a book called Innerviews, Music Without Borders. And he also has the website, Innerviews.org. And he's done some absolutely fantastic interviews with everybody from the likes of Porcupine Tree, Stanley Clark, Bjork. Yes, Chuck D,
John Anderson, Bill Bruford.
Yeah, the guy's extremely well versed in his jazz and his fusion and his prog, and we'll test him a little bit and see how he feels about his rock.
Absolutely.
So that's the story tonight. We want your phone calls. Rachel, the Metal Warrior Princess, is back from her time in mourning over the LA Kings being out of the playoffs, so she will be joining us soon. And of course, we want your phone calls and your emails. If we can manage to squeeze all that into 3 hours, we will be true.
It's going to be an action-packed night, but as always, we want to let you people know what we've been listening to. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Also, we've been to some big shows recently that we're going to try to catch you up to speed on some of those. We'd also love to know what you've been listening to. So one more time, it's 888-405-7440, or drop us an email all night long at usebinradio@usebin.com.
This is one of those nights where 3 hours once a week is just not long enough.
Just not long enough.
No, we could do probably 6 hours tonight. You know, I forgot to mention, too, with Neal Morse, we've got 2 tracks from the new Testimony record, the new Testimony 2 record.
Used Bin exclusive, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm not sure where they've been played. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't, but these are brand new tracks from the record.
Yeah, the record
exciting.
Record doesn't even come out till May 23rd with some tour dates. We'll get to all of that later. But, the the record's not even out yet, and you people are going to get to hear 2 exclusive tracks tonight.
I heard them. They don't suck.
They don't suck.
They're really good.
Very nice.
Really good. I'm still on that Neal Morse kick. Have been for about a month now, and I can't stop listening to
I
that.
know, you have. You have been on a big Neal Morse kick for a long time.
Record, so good. We listened to, not to jump the gun a little bit, but we listened to the Lifeline record.
Yes, we did.
In the parking lot, trying to get out of Indio, California for the Big 4 show.
After the Big 4 show.
So we went from like an epic Metallica set to a little Neal Morse Lifeline in the car.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah, but you have been on a Neal Morse kick for a long time.
Yeah.
I have to admit that's true.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that, as many of you know, I've been on a big Marillion kick, as I always am, but especially since the convention. But there's a reason I'm bringing it up right now, and it's not just to, do my usual plugging of a great band. And you can indeed find a better way of life at Marillion.com. But because we spend so much time talking about Marillion and plugging Marillion and trying to turn you people on to Marillion, I know you're all asking yourselves, geez, why don't you guys just get one of the guys from Marillion on the show and get it over with?
That's what I've been asking.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to serve and protect. And so, two shows from tonight, May 17th, live, in the studio, in this very room, we will have Ian Mosley, the drummer of the legendary Marillion, in the house.
That is exciting.
And so for that night and that night only, I can guarantee that you can find a better way of life at usedbin.com.
Yes. That, or in this fine studio.
That's right.
There will be a better way of life happening.
That's going to be a lot of fun. I've been looking forward to getting him in here for a while.
Yeah. It's going to be very exciting. I really can't wait for that.
Absolutely.
We have lots of things to talk about with Ian. So looking forward to that. We have a very busy month ahead of us, too. Some other guests that we'll talk about a little later on. And in the meantime, Joe Mama.
Yes.
Maybe we should call...
you want to just jump right in?
Yeah, let's
do
it.
All right. Well, if you're not well versed enough, shame on you. But Neal Morse, formerly of SPOCKS BEARD, lots of solo projects, Transatlantic, Yellow Matter Custard, all kinds of good stuff. One of the genuinely unique voices of prog, modern prog, and we're really excited to be bringing him on the show in just a little bit. To get you all warmed up, we're going to go a little old school on you and bring you some SPOCKS BEARD from his tenure with the band. This is Strange World. Enjoy.
Sunday morning, 10 o'clock. It's a very strange world in a very strange time. Jimmy makes a handsome living, juggling weapons in the park. It's a very strange world in a very strange time.
listening to. Used Bin Radio.
All right, welcome back into the Used Bin. I'm not even going to delay this any longer because I'm very, very excited.
Yeah, this is big.
Yeah, this is good.
This is big.
Very big. We are excited to have with us Prog legend Neal Morse is on the phone with us. Neal, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Excellent. Good to hear from you. We understand you have a little bit of a sore throat, so we really appreciate you sticking it out with us tonight.
Yeah, this came on me just like yesterday morning. It hasn't been. It's not real severe, but it's enough to just kind of
Annoy
put me
you?
under just a little bit. But yeah I'm going to be fine.
Is this the repercussions of excessive rehearsals for the upcoming gigs?
Well, not just that. There's just been a lot going on. I've got a guy just finished that just came out, and then the Testimony 2, CD and special edition, and rehearsals, and all kinds of stuff. It's just been a really busy season right now. So maybe God's trying to tell me to take it a little easier. I don't know.
That's usually how it works. I get the same thing. My 15-month-old gives me colds and tells me to take it easy. That's God's way of telling me to settle down a little bit.
Well, we're both really excited to have you with us for a little bit, and we want to talk about Testimony 2 and some of the other projects you've had going on recently. But before we get to any of that, Neal, just real quick, what have you been listening to lately? What's in your MP3 player or iPod player these days?
Oh, let's see. Well, I've been living and seeing all the music I'm going to play on the tour. Really,
right.
That's what I've been. I've been listening to all the 3 hours of music that I have to have mastered in the next little bit of time.
That is pretty serious.
So I haven't really been listening to much of anything else. To be honest,
let me ask you this then: what sort of new and modern stuff, whether it's prog or pop or rock, whatever, what kind of stuff has caught your ear lately?
Well, one of my favorite things is Rick Altizer's Bible. It's called Pop Symphony Bible Memory Disc or something like that. I love that disc. I listen to that a lot. And let's see. I've been listening to Moro Prog Radio. It's like a internet prog radio thing that I think is pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. I agree.
There's a lot of stuff that I can't remember the name of it, but there's some really cool stuff I heard from like Frost and.
Love Frost. Yeah,
Frost sounded really good. And
it's funny, we heard. I was listening to Moro one day, and I heard Magic Pie, that band Magic Pie, for the first time. And,
are those guys from Russia?
No, what are they from? Norway, right?
Yeah, I think Norway.
Yeah, from Norway. And
are they? Okay.
I was so blown away by it. Like it was one of those things that sort of stopped me in my tracks, and I had to immediately go and buy that disc. And wow, Moro's really good like that for me.
Turn you on to some new
lots
guys.
of really cool stuff. I mean, there's lots of really good things that I was like, wow, that's really good. Numerous pieces that I thought, but I just can't remember the names of the groups.
Right.
There was some group I'd never heard of from Ireland.
Not you too, right?
No. Something a little more obscure than you two. Yeah.
Well,
I'll have to write them down next time because I get asked that question a lot. Well,
it's funny because now with internet radio and podcasts and things like Moro, you can get turned on to bands of your genre of choice that you might not otherwise have come across, and that was sort of how it used to be with fanzines, particularly for me with Prog fanzines, which is how I first became aware of you. It was actually, and this is kind of interesting in retrospect, it was actually Mike Portnoy doing an interview long before I think you two had ever even met, early in Dream Theater's career, where he had just mentioned some new and up-and-coming bands that he was really a fan of, and he had listed SPOCKS BEARD's The Light album, and this was really early on for you guys, as a record that he was really fond of. And I'm guessing you guys hadn't even crossed paths at this point.
No, I don't think we spoke until like 98 or something like that, you know. Okay. And it's funny, it's interesting because one of the things I talk about in my book is I talk about, you know, the beginning of SPOCKS BEARD and all that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I mentioned that there was this guy, there was this rather famous drummer that was promoting us in his interviews. that was a big part of SPOCKS becoming more successful.
Okay, so you were actually aware of exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, somebody said, hey, you know, there's this drummer who's really talking you guys up. And yeah, sure, I was aware of it. And when the first time I talked to Mike on the phone, I think I said, you know, thanks for all the great press, man.
Right.
Wow.
That's cool. And then of course we saw SPOCKS opening for Dream Theater. I think that was the Scenes from a Memory tour, which for you guys I believe was maybe Day for Night. I forget exactly which tour it was, but what a great double bill that was. So we got our Prog on that night. We were really excited. So at what point did you guys sort of first team up? You know, maybe pre-Transatlantic, or when did you first start working together?
Mike and I, Transatlantic was the first thing we did. You know,
right.
I met Mike in the lobby of the studio. What I think it was called Millbrook, where we made Sympty. Right. We talked on the phone and several times, but we actually met in the lobby of the studio and then went in and made the Sympty album.
Okay.
Got it. Yeah. And that's turned into quite a working relationship. I mean, you guys have done a lot of... he's become sort of your go-to guy, isn't that right?
Yeah, totally. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's funny how that just sort of worked out. And I've heard him talk about in interviews. Just, I mean, you are just revered in his eyes. I mean, he can't say
and in ours.
Yeah, that's true. But we don't get the chance to work with Neal.
That's true.
That's the bummer. God, how do we make that happen?
We'll set up another chair in here for you.
Right. We'll say a lot of really good things about you. But yeah, that's just sort of turned into quite a long working relationship. Have you guys, I think I heard him say you guys have worked on some 12 albums together. Is that about right?
I thought he said 10.
Maybe
you're including B-sides.
I'm including double albums as being 2. How's that?
Yeah, that's true. Most of our albums actually should count for at least 2,
that's
maybe
right.
3 albums.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
I think he said 10. I don't know. He's kind of the archivist, you know. I don't keep track of things.
He is, isn't he? He is, isn't he? He certainly always has his dates down and his set lists down. And just to digress for just a second, you know, with the whole situation right now in Dream Theater, being so close to Mike, I'm wondering what your take is on the fact that, basically, you know, he left, but they wouldn't let him back in. And so now they've got somebody filling the drum seat. What's Mike feeling right now, and what are your thoughts on that?
You know, we haven't discussed it I haven't been with him since the last time we were together was in March, and it isn't something that we would talk about over email. You know.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, you know, I mean, you know, I think Mike's doing fine.
Yeah.
You know, but. Speaking from somebody who's gone through, you know, a band, you know, breakup thing, I don't think it's never easy for either party. It's sort of like a divorce, you know. I mean,
right.
It can be you know, a gut wrenching thing.
Yeah,
it can be.
Absolutely.
But Mike's doing fine.
Yeah, and it's a shame it played out in public too. I mean, that's the bummer of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although,
well, you know, people do they're all going to be good. They're good guys, and everything's going to be fine.
Although the last time you two were together, and you mentioned March, I think we're probably talking about the same thing. We caught your Southern California show of the Yellow Matter Custard tour, which it looked like he was having a good enough time on stage that night.
Yeah, all of you did.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's, well, you know, I mean, that's
just a good bit of fun.
Yeah, it is just a good bit of fun. And, I told the audience in New York, okay, the challenge is for you guys to have more fun than we're having.
It's got to be it's so, well, I can tell you just for, speaking for us anyway, it is so great to see such accomplished musicians go out there and play tunes that they love to play that aren't necessarily their own, and there's something that it's just so joyful about all of that.
Yeah,
that's cool. Good.
That's absolutely true. And the harmonies on Because were pretty cool too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We only had a few days to rehearse. I didn't know if we would be able to pull that stuff together, but
well, thumbs up. Yeah. Thumbs up. You nailed that one.
It's funny. We had Cassim on the show maybe a month or so before, and he said the same. Cool. Yeah, he said the same thing. He said, "I don't know if I can pull this off. Like, they told me to rehearse all these tunes, and like I've got 2 days in the same room with these guys, so I don't really know." He seemed a little bit nervous, but it all came together pretty good. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Well, you had mentioned when we were talking about Mike, you had mentioned sort of the idea of a split being like a divorce. So I guess you've sort of set up the next question pretty clearly. Is in 2002 when you announced that you were born again. What does it look like when you go into a room or get on the phone with members of a band that you established and say, "Hey guys, I have a different agenda and I'm leaving"? What does that look like, and how does that go over?
Well, I didn't do it on the phone.
Well, that's good. Yeah, you don't want to break up with the girlfriend on the phone either, so that's good.
Well, I prayed a lot about it. I was really praying. It's like, oh God, how do you want me to do this? How should this play out? How is this going to play out? And I didn't know. And I kept asking, and I just felt like my feeling was, that everything was going to be revealed forward as I did. And when I went out to California, we were going to record a few bonus tracks for the Snow album.
Right.
And I was the whole time wondering, because the studio where we usually recorded was just one big room.
Right.
So I was like, where am I going to tell them? I don't want to tell them this room with the engineers and other people there. It's like somehow we need to be alone. And in the right environment, Anyway, so the studio where we normally recorded happened to be booked, which was really rare. And so Nick said he had another studio that he wanted to try out. And so we went to this other studio, and it had a private lounge.
Right.
And so I felt like, God had provided out of the blue, really, the setting. And we just sat and, I just told them. I was feeling that I needed to go a different direction. And, it was quite shocking,
Did they have any idea that this was coming, or was this like no idea?
I don't think anybody did. I think everybody was just totally shocked. The thing was that I had like 9 months to pray about it before, and to grieve about it, and to sweat drops of blood, and
right,
and go through all the spaces that you go through. What is it? Anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, all that stuff.
Right.
I had all that time to go through it before then. So then they started their process really then,
Right. So you were a little bit ahead. You were a little bit ahead.
Yeah, it was just I was in I was just in little bit of a different place, and but we all have gone through it and passed through the other side, and it's all our relationship's all good now, and
right.
I think it's all worked out for the best. So
Is that? I'm sure there was some hard feelings to get to the other side, but now that you're there, is it feasible to go back and do some SPOCKS BEARD stuff? I know you guys are on the High Voltage Fest. You guys are playing separate nights, right? You're doing one night and SPOCKS is doing another night.
Yeah, I'm doing Saturday and they're doing Sunday, yeah.
Is that strange, or is that something that could conceivably, maybe you'd get up and play with them again? Is that something that could happen?
Well, I mean, we did that at a festival in Pittsburgh a couple of years ago.
Okay.
You know, we did the light together.
Oh, nice.
There, and you know, so the ice has been broken on all that, and so for me, it's like it's not a big deal. It's like, you know, doing a song or whatever together is not. I feel very friendly towards everybody, and I think they feel that way too. So, you know, it's certainly a possibility. I don't know if it's going to work out time wise,
Right.
for us to be at each other's gigs or not. You know, so I don't know if we'll be there, but it's certainly a possibility.
I got you. Well, that's good that at least, you know, it's out there.
Yeah.
The beard is out there.
Isn't Dream Theater on that? Isn't like Dream Theater playing one of those nights too?
That's a lot of notes.
Yeah, I think Dream Theater's playing the same night as SPOCKS, I think, on the Sunday.
That's a lot of notes.
That is just, yeah, that's a lot of notes, and that's just ironic, because Mike will be playing with you, right?
He's not scheduled to at this time.
Oh, okay. All right, so for irony, no mas.
Okay.
I was going to say, because that would just be odd. That's
a good point.
There'd be a lot of stuff going on there.
But this whole period in 2002 that we're talking about, it seems like this is sort of a pivotal moment in time to the Testimony and Testimony 2 disc. So can you sort of encapsulate, you know, what's sort of the timeline of Testimony and what's covered in Testimony 2 as far as like the autobiographical timeline?
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, Testimony 1 starts off in California with me, you know, playing in the bars and getting more and more depressed, and then moving out to Nashville.
Right.
And I don't even move to Nashville till disc 2, I think. So, you know, it's like a full hour before before SPOCKS even starts. Like that would be. I moved to Nashville in '95, at the same time that the first SPOCKS album came out.
Right.
And I kind of fast forward then on Testimony 1 to just, you know, me becoming a Christian, essentially.
Right. I gotta digress for just a second, because I'm picturing you in the mid '90s in Nashville, and I'm picturing Neal Morse with like a cowboy hat, playing some cowboy bar with an acoustic guitar, slung John Bon Jovi like over the back shoulder. Was there any like early working acoustic versions of things that became SPOCKS Beard songs later that were worked into a country western set?
No, not really, but I had written I was writing country songs when I moved here. I was trying to get country songs placed and get a deal with a publishing company, but it never happened. Okay,
so there was no acoustic thoughts live in Nashville or anything like that.
No. I did some gigs. You know, I did quite a few acoustic gigs here in town, but I think I did mostly country stuff. I don't think I did. And I was terrible. I was terrible at doing the country thing. But some of the songs were pretty good. You know, I mean, I was just doing the songwriter thing. I wasn't trying to be a country artist. I knew I could.
Gotcha.
I could never pull that off.
That's so funny. I'm sitting here trying to wrap my head around that, and because one of the things that I love about your songwriting and your songs are, you know, your choruses and are so like big and bright. I mean, they leap off of a CD, and country music just doesn't quite do that for me. And I'm trying to picture you writing songs that don't have those really big, beautiful, bright choruses and turning them into country tunes.
Yeah, I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me. But how do we hear those tunes?
Yeah, right.
I think I need to figure this thing out. I need to work through it.
Put up to you. I have something called the Inner Circle, which is like a fan club thing. And I give, I send, every other month they get a disc or a DVD of whatever, live stuff, old demos or whatever, and so they've gotten a few of the country things. And
I'm signing up.
Nice. And so
it's a big hoot.
Here's the perfect opportunity. So let's give out the website. What's the website of choice? Because I know we could get information about you from many sources, but what's the website of choice?
Well, go to nealmorse.com, and then there'll be the Inner Circle banner there. You can sign up for the Inner Circle on there.
I'm in. I'm doing that. If you're just joining us, we are talking to Neal Morse, and the new record, Testimony 2, comes out May 23rd, and then there is a tour starting May 19th, goes through the 28th. I believe it's what starts in Nashville and ends up on the 28th here in California, right?
Yeah, last concert's in Whittier on the 28th.
Nice.
Well, that's the last concert in America. Then I fly to Europe, and then there's a whole European leg that goes on until June 19th.
Right.
Gotcha.
All right, so go to nealmorse.com, and you can find all the tour dates there, and then you can obviously buy the record there, and also the book. Which did you say the book came out today?
Well, I just got the books from UPS today, but the release, I'm releasing it at the same time as the album. I thought, just release everything.
Right.
So it's May 23rd is the same.
Okay, so go to nealmorse.com. You'll get all the info there. You get the book. You get the record. Another double record. It's the follow-up to Testimony, which is just an epic record. And so go there and buy everything, and then go to the show. Go to a lot of them.
Do it all. And then wait for Testimony. Then wait for Testimony 3.
Oh my! Is there a Testimony 3, Neal?
You never know. I don't know. I mean, I didn't really know there was ever going to be a Testimony 2. So I mean, who knows?
That's actually a good question. So when Testimony 1 ended, was that sort of it for you? I mean,
I did have a thought, because I remember being in the back of the van when we were doing what I called the combo band tour. We did a few dates like on the East Coast before we did the Testimony tour proper, because I kind of wanted to just like warm up,
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I remember being in the back of the van, and I was thinking about how, wow, I didn't have a song about my daughter Jada's healing on the album,
which is a fairly pivotal moment.
I remember, it was such an important moment for me, and so I had a thought about a song about that, even at that time. So somewhere in the back of my mind, I thought maybe I'd do a Testimony 2 and write about that, and then write about the other things on Testimony 2. It kind of covers an in-depth look at the period of my life between maybe 6 and 2001, so to speak.
Okay.
Or maybe 2002.
Got it.
Whereas Testimony 1 really deals with the stuff that happened really before that, maybe like 1980 to 1995. Testimony 2 picks up in 1995 and goes to 2002.
That is just, that's great. I was telling Joe this last week, or a couple weeks ago, actually, when I knew you were getting ready, when you were coming on the show, and I just thought, how great is it that you have put your life to music, where most people would do a book, which obviously you've done as well, but you really have put your life to music in detail, right?
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's a little weird sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you have to be so self-aware and so in tune with what's happening with you, because that's got to be really therapeutic.
Yeah, and putting your diary out there.
I tell my story a lot because I felt to give my testimony, in a lot of different places. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like church lingo for telling your story about what God's done for you. Basically.
Okay, right.
And so I've been to a lot of churches in Europe, and I've told my story a lot. I've told it so many times that I think my kids have it memorized.
Right.
I think that I think it's an important thing to do that I never get tired of doing. To me, there's nothing greater to write about than what God has done for you. It's like, what better subject? I don't get tired of it. I hope people don't get tired of hearing about it.
Right. For the benefit of some of our listeners, and I don't want to belabor the point by any means, but I want to talk about your spirituality, because we keep referring back to your daughter Jada in this pivotal moment, and obviously for anyone that's aware of your career and how this went down, Jada was very sick. Jada had been diagnosed with a hole in her heart, and so first of all, how is she now? How is your daughter?
She's great. Yeah, she's been great ever since. She's.
Great to hear that.
cheerleader. And,
yeah?
She just got second. Just today, she got second place. She was in a statewide competition. She was acting in a scene from playing Anne in Anne of Green Gables, and got second place.
Wow.
So you're a proud dad. That's so cool.
Oh yeah, I'm a proud dad. Yeah, she's doing great. My son Will's doing great too.
That's
great.
But yeah, so she was born with this really real serious heart defect, hole in her heart thing, and they were going to have to do open heart surgery. And long story short, my wife took her down for prayer at church while I was actually playing in Europe. And they were taking sonograms of her heart every 5 days. And my wife took her back in after that Sunday prayer, and they couldn't find the hole.
Wow.
That's
That's a pivotal moment.
That's a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really changed me a lot. It changed my heart. I don't know how to explain it. It's like I started changing from being angry with God to like really being really grateful in my heart,
Right.
which was a whole new thing.
Were you religious before that, or was that sort of the moment for you where it clicked?
Well, I started praying, so I started. It's hard to explain, I guess, a little bit. I mean, I started praying like in desperation in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through times when I like really believed in God a lot, and then I went through times when I was really like angry and kind of against it when things weren't going well for me.
Right.
But it changed. Everything changed for me when I met Jesus and I became a Christian. That's what these CDs in this book is all about. That it's about the process that I went through, and for me, it was not I just walked into church and went aha and received and
right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
For me, it wasn't a flash of lightning experience. It was over the course, really, of 10 years. That I felt like, I don't know, in a way, like God was drawing me
Right.
over time, and I was coming to Him over time, and then on the Testimony 2 album, I talk about the moment, the point at which I really just dive in with both feet.
Right.
And so that's what the whole story is about.
Right. And did you, during that 10-year period, sort of when you were struggling, what was happening with on the outside, like with the band and music and all of that sort of thing? Was your music reflective of where you were at that time?
Well, I think it is. I think if you listen to the SPOCKS albums, you can hear, and if you listen to my solo albums too,
Mm-hmm.
I could tell you, what was going on with me, and what period this was from, and what I was talking about. But I think you can hear the anger, and you can hear me growing, and you can hear me starting to become more and more. Until, like on the Snow album, I'm saying things like "love will be your ministry," and things like that. It started to get very pointed, I think, by the time I wrote the Snow album, I was a fully committed Christian.
Right.
Right.
So when your heart changes, the words that come out of your heart change. And
Yeah.
it was just the way that it was. And,
Yeah.
So
There's
the challenge of that was to try and figure out how to make all that stuff, like Open Wide the Floodgates and Love Beyond Words and all those songs,
right.
Wind at My Back, which is all about the Lord, how to make that work in a secular prog band. You know?
That is a challenge, I would imagine.
Sure.
Yeah. But I think we managed to do it.
When I remember when the Snow record came out, there was a handful of, at least locally, there was a handful of acoustic shows to kind of support the release, but there wasn't any kind of full production Snow tour. And I had always wondered, because there's that pivotal moment during the plot line of Snow where the lead character has the big rally in Central Park. Did you back then ever consider that the swan song for SPOCKS BEARD could have been like a big free concert in Central Park, or was that just a missed opportunity?
No, I never considered that. I don't know. I think the for me and probably maybe for them too, the whole Snow album is because of what was going on, with me and everything, and it's a little bit of a bittersweet thing for me. I don't listen to it very often.
Mm-hmm.
Because of it reminds me of how difficult a time it was for me.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. Have you found that your fans maybe have the SPOCKS BEARD fans been able to come over and listen to some of the Neal solo records, as religious as they are? Have they been able to make that transition?
Some of them were. Some of them have.
Yeah. Has there been some backlash?
Sure, yeah, there's people that don't like it, but mostly they just don't buy, and they don't comment, and
right.
They just kind of like separate themselves. And
well, at least they're respectful.
Most people have been very kind.
Right.
I've been really surprised at how much support and kindness people have given me, even whether they kind of agree with me or not. People have been very nice.
Yeah. I can tell you from my point of view, and I'm not a very religious person at all, and I just love those records. I really do. I love them. Musically, they are spectacular. They're as good as I think anything you've ever done. I mean, they're really, really that good.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I just wonder because when I listen to those records, I think about that. I think, are there people who just can't get past? I mean, I'm sure there are.
The lyrical message, and just hear the musicality.
Yeah, because you don't really hide it. I mean, those lyrics are pretty straightforward. You say exactly what you believe, which is great.
Right.
But I just wonder how many people sit there and go, "This is really good," except for.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there are some like that. I mean, I know there's some, I just know, there's a lot of journalists that, don't want to talk about that, very much. And so, I don't get as many interviews or whatever as I would as I used to with what I, used to do.
I wonder if they're
that's
afraid.
all okay. I mean, it's everybody has to go their own path. And, I mean, that's fine.
I wonder if they're afraid. I'm sorry, Joe. I was thinking, I just wonder if people are afraid, because, I mean, there was a part of me that was a little hesitant to bring some of that stuff up, too, with you about the religious stuff, because for a lot of people it's very personal. You just happen to, you really share that with a lot of people. I wonder if journalists are just afraid to have that you'll maybe react unkindly to that conversation.
Oh, that I would? Oh, I wonder. I hadn't considered that. I just figured that, a lot of people don't want to talk about those kind of things.
Yeah, I think it's a little intimidating for some people to maybe have that conversation if you're not in the same place. It's a little intimidating.
Right.
Like, what's a safe question to ask you about your beliefs and what's crossing the line? And, a lot of people don't know where that line is.
Well, after they all hear Neal on Used Bin Radio, they'll know all topics are safe.
Right.
Well, most topics.
I'm open. I like all kinds of questions. I mean, somebody could ask me any. I enjoy, the quote unquote tough questions about Christianity.
All right. Well, we got one.
Whatever anybody wants to ask me, it's fine.
All right, here it comes. You asked for it. Here it comes. So, what do you really think of Stryper?
What's that?
What do you really think of Stryper?
That's what everyone wants to know.
Sure.
Aren't those the guys that did To Hell with the Devil?
That's the ones.
Yeah, the sing-along song. Come on. Sweet, baby.
No, but I do want to ask you about one other guy that I personally am a huge fan of, and I know you had a great working relationship, and sadly he's no longer with us. But I wanted to ask you about Kevin Gilbert. What was your experience with Kevin? When he first became aware of the band, I know that he produced one of the records. What was he like, and what was he like in the last days?
Well, one of the last conversations I had with Kevin on the phone, he said to me that he was bummed out that he hadn't done his Dark Side of the Moon.
Right.
And of course, to me, I was like, dude, you're the, I just thought he was just the man, he was so successful, and, he was so incredibly great and creative, and had that great studio, had that wonderful studio and whatnot. So I was really surprised to hear him say that he felt that way. But I guess I could see it also. We talked about that. But Kevin was a really, he was a really kind and good and sometimes hard-headed about music person. I had hoped that we would have been able to work together. For much longer,
right,
than we got to, and it was quite a shock to all of us what happened.
Somehow I get the feeling that if Kevin were still around, he would be another one of your go-to guys like Mike Portnoy, and the three of you would be working on music together. At least that's the way I imagine it.
It's possible. I don't know how it would have played out, but he was an amazing, gifted guy.
We're. Oh, okay. I think we need to start wrapping up. Plus, your voice, we gotta
give the voice.
Yeah, let you recover. But so the Testimony 2 is coming out on May 23rd. We've got some dates coming up. When you go to Europe, do you have the same touring band that you have in the U.S.?
No, we're gonna have a different band in Europe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who's in that band?
Colin Leisenar on the drums, and Paul Bilatovich on the guitar, and a bunch of other folks. Cast of thousands. It's going to be great.
Cast of thousands. Excellent.
Can we come? Can we be in the band? I play the spoons. I'm really good.
Yeah, come on, man.
I'm a really good spoon player. At least that's what my dad told me.
Grab a spoon and a glockenspiel, and you're in, man.
Right. That's all it takes. Sign me up.
Excellent. Well, we hope the voice feels better between now and then. Thanks so much for doing this, Neal. We really appreciate you taking the time. We wish you all the success in the world with Testimony 2. Before we let you go, 3 rapid-fire questions we always like to ask our guests. So just the first thing that pops into your head. First, what was the first record you ever bought?
Meet the Beatles.
Nice.
Wow.
That makes sense,
there you
actually. Go. If you weren't involved in music, what else do you think you'd be doing now?
I'd probably be a teacher.
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
Any particular subject?
Probably, if it wasn't music, it would probably be math.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Nice.
7/8.
That's where all that 7/8 comes from. Okay. And last question, but most important, if you were trapped on a desert island and you could only bring one Rush album with you, what would it be?
Power Windows.
Nice.
Wow, I think that's maybe the first Power Windows we've gotten.
Yeah, we get a lot of 2112 on this show.
You get a lot of the early stuff. Why Power Windows? I'm curious.
I don't know. I'm just off the top of my head.
Oh, okay. All right. I was like, wow, that's a
good
really
answer.
Interesting choice.
That's really good.
We don't get that often.
Fair enough.
Neal, you know what? Really quick, before we let you go, we have 2 tracks from the new record that we're going to play, and we're going to play them in a row. We're going to play Time Changer, and then we're going to play Jada. And I'm wondering if you could just sort of set Time Changer up for us, and where are we in the story when this song comes up?
That's really at the beginning of the part of the album where I start telling the story. So I start off with it's about 1996. SPOCKS is just beginning, and then I joined the Eric Burdon Band in 1997. So we're right in 96, 97, talking about that period of my life. I get a steady gig with the Eric Burdon Band, and SPOCKS is starting to be successful, and things are starting to go well for me. I get married and start having kids, and then kind of it goes into this dark time with Jada's heart disease.
Right. Very good. Okay. Well, I've listened to the songs, and they're fantastic. I can't wait to hear the rest of the record. It's Testimony 2. It's out May 23rd. And Neal, thank you so much for coming on. I know that that you're a little injured, so we'll put you on the DL for a little while, and then so we can get you right for the tour.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Oh, by the way, I just do want to say that on Time Changer, in that SPOCKS BEARD vocal section, that is actually SPOCKS BEARD singing all the parts.
Oh, is that right? Oh, we didn't even talk about that. So Nick and all the guys came down to record some tracks for this.
No, they were all spread out all over the world. I sent them parts, and they recorded their parts and sent them to me.
You're a fan of that. I remember watching some of the bonus features on one of the Transatlantic DVDs, and it seemed like the Whirlwind was sort of made like that, where you going backstage at some show in Europe to get Mike to do vocals there, and then bringing digital recordings somewhere else, and you're a fan of that.
Well, it's just the way things have to work sometimes when people are spread out like they are.
Gotcha.
Was that an easy conversation to get those guys to get them to agree to do the stuff?
I just asked them, and they said okay, and it took a while to get it done, but they sent their parts in just right in time to mix it. So nice. I think it sounds great too. I love hearing their voices, and it's like I'm singing about that time in my life, and then here they are. That's perfect.
That's got to be surreal.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to give our whole listening audience a chance to experience that right now, because we're going to go to Time Changer. Neal, once again, thank you so much. Have a great night, and best of luck with the record and the tour.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Neal.
All right, take care.
Bye now. All right.
Ready for a little Time Changer?
Am I ready for Time Changer?
Ladies and gentlemen, the world premiere, Neal Morse, Time Changer.
Change the time, time changer, change the time, send the sign, take my mind. Time changer, change the time, time changer, change the time, send the sign, take my mind. Change the time. so surprised to seize the day from where we had come. Sun and moon both crystallized, it was better late, our date with the sun. Never were we so surprised to seize the day from where we had come. Sun and moon both crystallized, it was better late, our date with the sun. Never were we so surprised to seize the day from where we had come. Sun and moon both crystallized, it was better late, our date with the sun. Never were we so surprised to seize the day from where we had come. Sun and moon both crystallized, it was better late, our date with the sun. As we were going to who knows where, nothing was coming in all for the world. Never were we so surprised to seize the day from where we had come. Sun and moon both crystallized, it was better late, our date with the sun. Never were we so surprised to seize the day from where we had come. Sun and moon both crystallized, it was better late, our date with the sun. Time changer, change the time, change the time. Time changer, change the time. Send the sign, take my mind.
And that, my friends, was Time Changer from the forthcoming Testimony 2 record from Neal Morse. It's out May 23rd. And we're going to give you a little bit more of that.
That's large, let me just say.
It's pretty big stuff.
If you're a fan, like I am, particularly of some of the old SPOCKS BEARD stuff, that's awfully reminiscent. Not just because, as Neal mentioned, that he's got the guys doing some of the vocal parts, but just musically, that just sounds very reminiscent of that period of time. I think I even heard a couple of little musical references to some of the old songs in there, and certainly that whole sort of gentle giant-ish counterpart with the vocals. He was always a big fan of that.
Well, knowing the story and knowing where he's at in the story when the song comes up in the record, it's perfect. I mean, he really nailed it. So, all right, let's play the second track that we have here from the upcoming Testimony 2 record. This is Jada.
World exclusive, Used Bin Radio.
The sun crossed a field to a pale gray. Time was torn apart. The doctor said things weren't all okay. She was born with a broken heart. Jada, a song to my soul. Jada, your daddy's here, he'll never let you go. There was nothing to do but just sit and wait. Will she make it through today? My wife laid our baby at heaven's gate and gave her heart in trade. Crying Jada, Lord, make her whole. Oh, Jada, Mommy knows she has masters kept testing for very long, with no word to console. They searched and they searched, but found nothing wrong, 'cause they couldn't find the hole. Jada, a song to my soul. Oh, Jada, the Father's come and He has healed you, Jada. It's not time to go. Oh, Jada, the Father's come and He has made you
Bin Radio. What are you listening to?
Listen! She's 44. She thinks she's 25 and just been dealt a bad hand.
What's up with that, yo?
What's up with that, yo?
Dude, from Neal Morse's Jada, which is a beautiful song off the Testimony 2 record, to Danko Jones.
Yeah,
Only on Newsbin Radio, pal. Get a brother, get a table dance.
Oh,
That's
my.
all I'm asking.
Oh, my.
All right, that was Neal Morse's Jada.
That was the legendary Neal Morse we just had in the bin.
Coming.
That was pretty large.
Yeah, that's
no,
from
dude. That was Neal Morse.
Oh, dude, I'm getting there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just want to give it a quick plug real quick. That's
okay,
all.
go ahead.
That's from the upcoming Testimony 2 record. It's out on May 23rd, along with the book Testimony. And he's going on tour starting May 19th in Nashville and is working his way here to Whittier, California on May 28th, then going into Europe, all sorts of places. So for all the information, how do you get the record on the book, all that kind of stuff, go to nealmorse.com. And that will be your prime source for tickets, I'm sure, and information on the record.
That's right.
Which was so good.
And if you need any music news on any other subject besides Neal Morse, then you need only visit one place, and that is Usbin Radio, because we are the proud presenters of one Rachel, the Black Metal Warrior Princess, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, she is in the house.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Rach.
It's nice to be back.
I feel like I should cue up the Welcome Back Cotter song or something right now.
You all right with the whole Kings issue and all of that?
Well, you know, I had to console my husband about the Kings.
Right.
I'm a little heartbroken over the Penguins, but I have to say that I called it from the beginning of the year. I think the Lightning are going to go all the way.
You do.
We'll see.
Okay. Fair enough. We shall see.
And that's enough on that topic.
Okay. Fair enough. I was very sad, too. I just want you to know. But I came to work because Joe wouldn't sign my paycheck if I didn't show up.
That's right. But as long as we're on the subject of that, let me just say from personal experience that over the weekend I listened to the podcast of the one and only Usbin Radio show, where I was only here for half of the evening.
Right. I remember that show.
And it was cool because, well, for one, you know, you didn't know if I was showing up or not, and so when I came in, I got a very warm welcome. Thank you for that. But more importantly, for the first half of that show, your co-host, Rachel, the Black Metal Warrior Princess, was on her game. I just want to say, nicely done.
Oh, thank you.
That was an excellent show. I would be a fan of that show. You guys played some groovy tunes, and it also had what I might have to consider probably the single most uncomfortable moment in the history of Usbin Radio. I don't know if it was accidental. I don't know if I want to know. But at some point, it sounded like your headphones, brother man, your headphones came unplugged.
They did.
And Rachel uttered the words, "Don't pull it out." And I don't know what to feel about that. But
when you were listening, could you feel the beads of sweat coming from my forehead?
I could actually imagine, having known you as long as I do, I imagine exactly the look that was on your face. And it was somewhere between horror and where do we go from here?
Right. Right.
But it was a very enjoyable show, and Rachel, nicely done.
Thank you.
Rachel found a way to move the line one more time to exactly where it gets crossed. I don't know anymore, so I just sort of follow your lead when it comes to that.
See, it's all about bad taste.
You're trying to say I have bad taste?
I have bad taste. It's all in poor taste.
No, I don't know. I thought it was pretty funny. I have to be honest. I'm sort of with Joe on that one.
humor.
I'm in. I'm a fan of it. I just know you and your husband a long time, and your son, so it makes me feel funny inside. A little wacky.
Nothing personal. Sorry to the wife.
No, there's nothing to be sorry about. I mean, it was pretty funny.
Okay.
It was pretty funny. It was just a moment. You caught me off guard. For sure. You caught me off guard.
I like to keep you on your toes.
And that you did. But absolutely did.
You know who else is on his toes?
Who's that?
One Michael Mangini.
Well, he's not on his toes. He's in a band.
He's in a band.
He's in a rock and roll band.
I think we need to talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, what a crazy week.
Wait. I suppose it is remotely possible that there's like one person out there that doesn't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
There's a little band called Dream Theater, and they had a little drummer named Mike Portnoy, and Mike Portnoy's not in the band.
Had being the key word
had been in the band. In an email that I wrote to somebody today, or no, it was something on the Usbin forum, we were talking about the Portnoy era. And it just stings to have to write that, because now we're in the Mangini era.
Yeah, the second chapter is being written.
It is. For anybody that's not well versed on this, it's really a good watch. If you go on YouTube or the Roadrunner page, you can see exactly what we're talking about. After Mike Portnoy left the band, and then we proceeded to talk about it for the following 6 months,
and still talk about it.
The four remaining members of Dream Theater needed to replace the drummer, and there is a genuinely excellent 3-part reality TV, I guess,
kind of documentary
on their process of Mike leaving, having to move forward, finding 7 excellent drum candidates, the rehearsals, which were just hoops to be jumped through there, and then ultimately coming up with Mike Mangini. So go check that out. It's a great watch, very entertaining, and you get real insight into what goes on with this band.
I was a little surprised because initially, the whole idea of this reality documentary just had a sort of a bad taste in my mouth, and I certainly don't think I'm the only one that felt like that. But until I really dove in that first episode, they're about 20 minutes each,
right?
And once I got into it, I was so hooked. I think that all the credit in the world has to go to whoever directed this thing and edited that documentary. It is beautifully done. It's really woven together nicely. There's great segments about Mike leaving the band and the guys talking about Mike leaving the band, and you really feel the turn when they begin to bring in guys, and you begin to feel like, okay, it's okay that Mike is gone. It's time to turn the page a little bit, and this is how they're going to do it.
Right.
Really, really, really well done. So real kudos to those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like you said, edited and produced really well. I think even if you're not a Dream Theater fan or not well versed in what they do, I think it's just a good, enjoyable watch for any music fan. I, like you, would have to agree when I first heard the words reality TV and that whole concept of documenting the audition process. My worst of fears was that it was going to be like In Excess,
right,
doing like a hosted game show kind of thing, and Dream Theater was going to do some kind of weekly series where
we were waiting for Dave Navarro to come out and host.
That would be tragic. Yeah. But no, thankfully it's not like that. It's really just them documenting the process. All the drummers were great. I guess you have to be in the short list for Dream Theater to be considered. But just to kind of recap, and you'll see this more in detail in the documentary, the audition was a 3-part process. Have you seen any of this, Rachel? You're going to need to watch this. You'll enjoy it. But the audition was a 3-part process, so each of the 7 drummers had to jump through 3 hoops. The first hoop was to play 3 Dream Theater songs with the band. One was Nightmare.
Right. Dance of Eternity.
Dance of Eternity, which is the most complex song probably in Dream Theater history. Really unbelievably complex.
There's at least 3 notes in that song. I'm just warning you right now. And 1 or maybe 2 meter changes.
Yeah, a couple. Yeah, easily the most complex piece of music they've come up with. And then their anthem, Spirit Carries On. So you had to play all 3 songs. Then you had to participate in an impromptu jam session with the band. So they would know in the future when it comes time to write with or improv with this guy, how would that work? And again, everybody did really well there. But what I think was the hardest part, actually, hands down, it had to be the hardest part, was the third hoop, the third test that they called the riff test. They had, in the most complex, derivative, mathematical, scientific nomenclature way possible, they had divined, if you will, the most complex note density, time signature change riffs possible that nobody on earth can tap their foot to.
Right.
And they basically explained to him, all right, it goes like 6 bars and 7/8, then 3 bars and 4, 17 and 9, then to 13, and then back to 7. And most of these guys are like, what?
Except Mangini was great. He wrote it down.
And
then he taped it to his to one of the cymbal stands, which was so smart.
And then they ask you to play the riff with them for a few minutes.
Right. It was great.
And it's really kind of comical because even some of the best drummers, it's just too much to take in and remember all at once. It really is a math quiz more than a drumming test, because you would never, under normal circumstances, need to play something like this.
Right.
Certainly not improv.
Yeah.
But Mangini, to his credit, and a couple of the guys,
Marco Minifield was great. Yeah. Marco Miniman was great. He was really.
Do you remember some of the other names? They're escaping me. I know that.
Marco Miniman, Mangini, and then there was, I can't remember now, there was a Brazilian guy.
One guy was sort of European, like death metal background.
Yeah, was he from Norway?
There was a.
Who's the guy?
There was like a straight metal guy. There was a jazz guy. There was a death metal guy.
The guy that played on James's last record. and I can't remember his name. The guy that played drums on James' last record. He did the Cookie Monster vocals.
Yeah, he was down to the last two, wasn't he?
Yeah, and it was Miniman and Mangini.
Yeah, and Mangini, a lot of people may not know his resume, but he's played with Extreme.
Yeah. And he's played with Steve Vai.
Yeah. So, he's certainly got some serious credibility from that.
A couple of things that stood out for me about this. One, in particular, is how the dynamics of Dream Theater are now. Like, it's like Petrucci's obviously sort of he's the head of the snake now, but not too far behind is Jordan. And Jordan is such an active, like, guy, almost like how do I put it? He's the guy that goes, no. It goes like this. This is how we do it. No. You're not getting it right. He's a taskmaster.
Yeah.
And it sort of caught me a little bit off guard because I still think of him as the new guy. So it caught me a little by surprise.
Yeah.
The other thing that
he's only been there 10 years. That's true. He's the new guy.
He is the new guy. But he's the newest guy. Well, besides Mangini, obviously, he's the newest guy in the band.
Yeah.
So it led me to think, what was the relationship like, maybe between Jordan and Mike? If Jordan is like that in the studio, we know that Mike is a bit more controlling. Obviously,
it's a good point. So there might have been more headbutting going on there
between those two
than we realize.
Than maybe James and Mike, who I think I initially thought was probably the issue. And the other thing that stood out to me was almost like James, I don't want to say was non-existent in these documentaries, but he was pretty low-key. He was John Young low-key, almost.
Well,
it was really John and Jordan.
To be fair, I mean, he had a lot of comment to make, but I think maybe that's partially because in the editing they kind of kept it to the instrumental, complex passages of the auditions and not the choruses and the singing. So you didn't really see a lot of James singing. That could have been lost in the editing, but he was certainly there and present just like everybody else was for the decisions.
No, absolutely. I think that's a great point, actually. The third thing that stood out to me was, how is it that John Young can sit on a stool and play those bass lines like he's falling asleep?
Yeah.
He looked like he was half asleep, just tearing through those songs.
Yeah.
That guy is retarded. He is ridiculous.
Yeah.
He is so good.
There was like a mind control Zen thing going on where his whole body was like at peace, only his fingers were moving at a different beats per minute.
It's really true. It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy is, we're talking about underrated. He tops the underrated list of all time. I mean, nobody talks about John Young.
Not even John Young.
No, he doesn't even talk. Yeah, he had one quote, I think, about this whole thing, and I thought his quote was fairly insightful too. And I think he said something to the effect of, the reason they picked Mangini was because it really felt right and it really worked right. Like everybody really got along, sort of like one fluid thing. Which I don't know if that's a dig at Mike Portnoy or what, but it's a very, I don't know, maybe I'm looking too far into it, which is entirely possible.
I have the quote, actually. He said, John Young said about Mike Mangini, his total immersion into performing with us was undeniable, and during the audition, we all felt his strong musical and personal presence. At the same time, we all felt a real unity with Mike.
That's the word, unity, that sort of got me.
Jordan, who, as you've mentioned, was really a taskmaster through the whole process, said that from the first count off of the very first note, every beat Mike played was not only in perfect time, but also executed with an undeniable sense of virtuosity and musicality. Hey, and he likes to use the big words.
He sure does. He's a 50 Cent word guy. He's really good at Scrabble.
Yeah, he's really good at Scrabble. That Jordan, you don't want to mess with him in board games.
Yeah, he's a triple word guy or whatever.
That's
right. I would agree with that. I mean, look, we had heard that maybe it was Mike Mangini because I think Eddie Trunk had tweeted that he'd heard it was Mangini got the gig. But when you watched his audition, the guy got it. And not that Marco Miniman didn't, or maybe some of the other guys.
He nailed it.
But Mangini just looked the part. He was the guy.
Just being comical here for a moment. Do you think they backpedaled for just a moment when they heard his reaction on the phone? Because he was a little bit of a bitch. he was a little too giddy.
Come on, man. That's the gig of a lifetime for him.
It is, but he couldn't catch his breath. He was like a little girl.
He made it so clear at the beginning of his interview how bad he wanted this gig.
That's true.
Like, this was important. And I don't know if you know this or not, but he's on the board at Berkeley, right? At the Berkeley School of Music.
Is that right?
He's the head of like the drum department there. So with him, stepping down from that, which is obviously an extremely coveted gig, he's stepping down from that to join Dream Theater. I get the feeling that this isn't going to be a one-off. I mean, who knows how things are going to go, but that's asking somebody to do an awful lot, which is leave a very coveted job to walk away and only do one record and one tour.
Yeah. No, that's fair, and you're right. He really wanted this, and he made it very well known through the whole documentary process. I just thought it was funny how over the top his acceptance speech was.
Hey, dude, I was excited for it.
I was too.
All right, but look, I have a little bitch in me. Let's be honest. There's a lot of people out there. Our friend Bobby Carlton would like to say that I am definitely half a bitch. Yeah. So in those things, I probably am, because I was rooting for the guy.
Well, Mike's comment, Mike Mangini's comment. We don't have a Portnoy comment. Mike Mangini's comment is pretty much says it all. I think he says, "I consider this opportunity the absolute pinnacle of my career. Playing with these guys is the mountaintop. This is where I want to be."
I'm in.
Like, I'm ready for that tour. I gotta tell you, I'm very excited to see what they come up with.
I had no clue I would feel like I would be as okay with it as I'm getting.
He just seems like a genuinely likable guy, and the dude could play. Nothing's gonna suffer.
Yeah, I want them to do well, and I want Mike Portnoy to do well. I really want to hear his projects, and I guess, just to sort of wrap it up, because we do have ANIL PRASAD coming on here in a minute. I'm at the point. I want Mike's happiness has got to be,
Portnoy.
Yeah, Mike Portnoy's happiness has to be. Thank you.
It's confusing.
It is confusing.
There's too many Mikes.
This is going to piss me off. A couple of Johns, a couple of Mikes. Jesus Christ. I just want Mike to be happy, and I think Mike's, like Neal Morse said to us earlier, that Mike is happy. He's okay. He's doing a lot of projects. He's working hard. He seems to be doing a lot of good stuff. And at the end of the day, that's good. And if in a year, 2 years, 3 years, that involves being in Dream Theater again, then that's a good thing too. But I'm excited for this new Dream Theater version Part 2. You like that version Part 2?
Mach 2?
The version Mach Part 2.
Version Mach Part 2.
Deuce.
Last word on the topic, and this is, I think, a fabulous footnote that you didn't bring up, so I floor is mine.
Yeah.
Last week,
right.
Google search. The number 1 search was the Royal Wedding. The number 2 search, Dream Theater.
Fantastic.
Unbelievable.
I love it. Yeah. Like, hey, man, I said this a while ago. It's good music. It's going to triumph. It really will. Stay away from the Britneys. Do it. Do yourself a favor. Do us a favor. Well, stay away from the Britneys. Get back involved in your Dream Theaters.
Somebody else who stays away from the Britneys and likes some good music is about to join us in just a couple of minutes.
Mr. ANIL PRASAD, who is an author and a journalist. He has the website Innerviews. I think it's Innerviews.org, actually.
Innerviews.
Yeah, INN.
Innerviews.
Yes, Innerviews.org. And he's done, he's had that thing since, I think, 94.
Right.
And the book is called Innerviews, Music Without Borders. And it's a compilation of a lot of different interviews he's done over the past few years. And it's excellent.
Prog luminaries, rock luminaries, jazz greats, fusion geniuses. It's all over the place. And he's got a really unique and really interesting and innovative style to his interviews. Usually very short and concise, not like some of my long-winded questions where, I'll ask Neal Morse something and it'll take longer to ask the question than his two-word answer. Yeah. But he has nice, concise little questions. One of the things that I like about his book, Innerviews, and he really seems to bring out the inner person of a lot of his subjects. So we're going to talk to him in just a couple of minutes. One of the guys that he interviewed in his book was one Bill Bruford. So here's a little Bruford to get you in the mood.
Nice.
Here's a little Hell's Bells for you.
Prog rock show tonight.
Hi, this is Britney Spears, and you're listening to my favorite radio station.
That's just too cold. That's not even funny.
Come on, who else is going from Bruford to a Britney bumper? Nobody. But You've Been Radio.
But I am waving the flag against the Britney Spears.
Well,
I want to impale her with that flag.
Well, that's why we don't have her on tonight, but instead we have Mr. Innerviews himself.
ANIL PRASAD. Anil, what's up, man? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
You betcha. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good.
Well, one thing we always like to ask before we even get into the subject matter at hand is, what have you been listening to lately? What's in your iPod or MP3 player these days?
Yeah, I'm really into the new Van der Graaf Generator album, A Grounded in Numbers, which is absolutely phenomenal.
Really?
Music for 60-year-olds. One of the best albums of their career and one of the best albums of the year I've heard so far.
Is that right? See,
yeah, you guys should check it out.
I'm a fan from way back, but I honestly have not heard the new one yet. What's it called?
It's called A Grounding in Numbers, and it's they're stripped down to a trio. The sax player left the band.
Okay.
And it's an incredibly tight, concise album, and it even has some, relatively mainstream song moments on it that kind of has to be heard to be believed.
Okay, I'm in.
Highly recommended. Listening to a new album by a group called Swans called My Father Will Guide Me Up a Rope to the Sky, and you're probably familiar with those guys.
Just back up 1 second. Say that again?
It's a group called Swans.
Okay, I'm a little slow on the uptake. You have to remember, I'm 50% retarded. So
Okay.
So the band is Swan. What's the name of the record?
Swans, they're called. The album's called My Father Will Guide Me Up a Rope to the Sky.
That's a great title. That is a great title.
Yeah, they're kind of a post-punk, but a very progressive, arty rock act.
I've never heard of
you
that.
guys would dig.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, they're led by a guy named Michael Gira, a really fantastic singer-songwriter.
No, I'm in. I'll check that out. I don't hear a lot of the post-punk prog mixture these days anymore. I think Van der Graaf Generator were sort of one of the last of that genre. So it's nice that there's still bands doing that.
Yeah, I mean, they predated the whole punk thing, and I think Johnny Light, in a relatively recent interview, cited Van der Graaf as an influence, which is pretty hilarious.
It absolutely is. Could you imagine, like, around 77, 78 on a Sex Pistols tour bus if they're listening to Pawn Hearts? What does that look like?
The funny thing is, I could actually believe that.
Right. I guess so.
That takes a second, but you can wrap your head around that
Sure.
one. Yeah.
Totally.
Sure.
Yeah.
So around 1994, you start a very innovative website. How long were you writing and a journalist prior to that? And what was the idea behind the website initially for Innerviews?
Well, I started as a music journalist back in 1989, and was doing a lot of print stuff when I was based in Canada. And obviously, the internet started emerging and becoming a force, and I just took it upon myself to see what I could do with it. Just as a test back in the day, I would actually hand code interviews into HTML, if you can believe that.
Wow, that's hardcore.
Yeah, just tossed them on the web, and just to see what would happen, just to see if anyone would turn up. And it hadn't really been done by many people at that point, and I thought maybe a few dozen people would start reading these interviews, and they're very progressive-oriented. I mean, the early interviews were, with people like Rick Emmett of Triumph and Adrian Belew from King Crimson, and people of that ilk, Bill Bruford, who you just played, of course. And rather than being dozens, hundreds of people showed up, and that quickly turned into thousands.
Crazy.
And these are just basic text documents on the web, and I thought, why not? Let's just package all this stuff I'm doing. I just posted up there cyclically, and that was the beginning of Innerviews.
Wow. That's pretty cool, man. It had to have been... it's nice when you get people that dig, especially that kind of music, and they show up in droves for it, because it's certainly not the mainstream.
Well, I think it was an interesting era, the early 90s. I mean, I think we can all agree that the internet has played an incredible role instrumental in propelling the progressive rock movement through the 90s.
Certainly.
2000s.
Certainly, up until that point, especially during most of the the hair metal loving 80s, prog was the P word. It was pretty taboo.
Yeah.
I mean, as proggy as people wanted to get was Owner of a Lonely Heart at the local arena tour.
Or Look What the Cat Dragged In.
Well, sure.
That's a prog epic.
Oh, take it easy now.
Oh, my bad.
But certainly with the advent of the internet, prog was making a comeback, and so you were poised right there for it.
Yeah, I think you could say that definitely the early iterations of Innerviews are totally prog-based, because that's the music I came out of and love intensely. And I think there weren't a lot of outlets at that point. There was no classic rock present, Prog magazine or Progression magazine or Used Bin Radio or anything like that. So I think people were, to quote, fish clutching at straws and trying to dig up whatever they could do, and I think Innerviews filled a void for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me back up for a second. You said that you really came out of the sort of the prog deal. What was it that you were so into? What are your prog bands? What's the go-to prog bands?
From being a little kid, as cliched as it sounds, it is Genesis. I mean, that's the fountainhead for everything for me.
This is a safe place to say that, by the way.
You're amongst friends. You're amongst friends now.
It's a prog safe zone.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first Genesis album I bought was actually the 1983 self-titled album, God Forbid. Okay. But I mean, I wove my way backwards and discovered all the classic albums, all the Gabriel era stuff and the Anthony Phillips stuff. And,
I can relate to that.
I find that really odd, to be perfectly honest. I don't know. I mean, kudos to you. I don't know a lot of people that were just getting into Genesis in '83 and the beginning of Phil Collins' dominating hit era that actually went backwards. I think they went forwards and enjoyed Invisible Touch, and then they just couldn't dance. But prior to that stuff, I don't know that a lot of people that went back and really grasped the Lamb and Foxtrot and Nursery Crime and Trespass.
I did.
You did. Yeah. You're an exception to a lot of rules, though.
I think it was a total oddball, because I also got the Genesis live video that came out at the time, and the thing that interested me the most was the In the Cage medley.
Exactly.
And with those killer quotes from Wind and Wuthering, and that was what I was like, this is the same band? You're kidding me.
Right. Yeah, I'm right there with you. In fact, a personal note, I was always bummed that they didn't release the full show on that particular DVD, because there was some choice older gems in the show on that 83-84 tour, but they really kind of limited it to the one In the Cage medley, but, that's just me.
Well, yeah, I think Genesis has been pretty... tight-lipped about what they want to release from their back catalog, and they've been very good at reissuing what's already existed, but they've been pretty bad about reissuing live material and rarities. So
that's fair.
Hopefully these guys are so rich, I mean, they're riding their horses, they're sailing their boats to Geneva. They're really not too worried about some kid wanting a Lamb soundboard.
It's true.
That's fair.
That's fair. What else besides Genesis?
All the classics, Yes and Gentle Giant, and Marillion, and the fusion bands like the self-titled Bruford band, and guys like Alan Holdsworth and Tangerine Dream, and people like that were some of the early influences.
Right. Did you ever go the harder route, the harder sort of prog metal route, maybe?
I've listened to a lot of that stuff. I'm not going to lie, that stuff hasn't resonated with me as much. But I've listened to my fair share of Dream Theater, and I'm definitely apprised, of that universe and dig it.
But just not your thing.
Not so. I mean, if you want to talk about groups like Porcupine Tree or Riverside, which I don't know how prog metal they are, but they've definitely got those influences.
Sure.
I kind of like. A little bit, maybe more of the melodic element mixed in, and I think those two bands do it really well.
Right, and going the other route, based on like the names of the people that appear on your website and in the book, it seems like there's also a heavy fusion and even straight ahead jazz element to what you gravitate to. Where does that come from? Were your parents into jazz?
No, I mean, this is probably the only radio show I could ever admit this on, but a lot of it has to do with Genesis.
Really?
Really, truly being a fountainhead band for me, because Genesis introduced me to Phil Collins, which introduced me to Brand X.
Right.
Brand X being a fusion band, through record store clerks at the time would say, well, if you like Brand X, you're going to like Weather Report, and if you like Weather Report, you're going to like, Wayne Shorter and Joe Zawinul solo, and at least
I love this family tree.
I love that family tree.
I love this tree. This is good. That should be on.
That's when they started handing you Camel albums.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What's that stupid website? The Ancestry.com. That's what this should be on. We should do this family tree on Ancestry.com. I started with Genesis, moved into Phil, went into Brand X.
Nice.
That's just hot. That makes me excited. I'm not going to lie. I won't lie.
Yeah, it's interesting. You guys are talking to Neal about Kevin Gilbert back there, and I was just fantasizing about the rumored Kevin Gilbert, Nick DiVirgilio Genesis lineup that was rumored to be in the offing. And,
there was a lot of potential there. I'm a huge fan of Kevin's work, particularly Shaming of the True, but really all of it, even Toy Matinee and all that stuff. But towards the end, he was doing like that Caviar idea or concept with Nick, and he was getting into some pretty weird territory at that point. So
that was a great album.
Yeah.
Are you a big Kevin Gilbert fan?
I think Kevin Gilbert was a musical genius. I think it's a crime against music that he isn't better known.
Right.
Yeah, I've got pretty much every recorded note that he's ever released, legitimately or not legitimately. Yeah.
Right. Do you think Sheryl Crow killed him?
I don't think she killed him, but I do think she was a pretty negative influence.
So she didn't pull the trigger, but she killed him.
She was in the room, making funny faces.
That's right. She encouraged someone to pull that trigger, didn't she? Stupid bitch. She did, didn't she?
I'm not going there.
Come on, man. This is a Kevin Gilbert safe zone. We can do it. This is a safe place to have that conversation. Look at us like your therapists.
I think that whole Sheryl Crow thing has been very well chronicled on the web. So if anyone wants to Google Sheryl Crow and Kevin Gilbert, you're going to get quite a few stories.
You're going to get quite the story.
I would suggest Googling Sheryl Crow murdering bitch. And you'll probably get the whole story there.
Yeah, you probably will.
There's a major Hollywood movie to be made here.
Yeah, there really should be. I'm with you there. So let's talk about your interview process. So obviously, early on, as you said, you were concentrating on a lot of progressive artists. What were you trying to accomplish as far as where these would get placed? Were you freelance, or were you doing these for particular magazines in the early stages before your website?
Yeah, in the early stages, it was a lot of print-based stuff. I mean, at the time, there were no web counterparts for any of those materials, so I would toss that stuff up there, probably not securing the right permission. The people were so clueless that they would never check on it or even know what was going on.
Right.
I attracted my own audience, and it got to be a pretty devoted little following, and it started to self-sustain, and I started getting offered interviews by the artists themselves. I should underline, it's the artists rather than the record labels or the handlers, and they started coming to me directly saying, this is pretty cool, we want to be part of this whole internet thing.
Nice.
that we've heard so much about.
It's the artist rebellion.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it evolved, and I just started getting interviews specifically for this site, and it was just a lot more fun to not deal with idiot editors and, people with like tunnel vision musical knowledge that had no interest in covering some of these artists. Just let me have free reign to do whatever I wanted. So that's what happened.
What makes a good interview?
I think the person that's doing the interviewing needs to be a really good listener. And needs to create a lot of space and room. I think open-ended questions are a really good thing, where there's a lot of room for interpretation. I think you need a lot of time to do a good interview, too. And that's an art form that the sort of publicity machine doesn't really recognize or appreciate, because we're in an era of 10 to 15 minute interviews are even shorter, during junkets with celebrities. Journalists might get 2 to 5 minutes,
right,
which is ridiculous, with people like Britney Spears.
Easy.
Monumental, musically talented Britney Spears.
Easy. This is not a Britney Spears safe zone.
I have noticed that.
Yeah.
I've noticed that.
This is a murder Britney safe zone. Sorry. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Neal Prasad. He is a journalist. He's the founder of the Innerviews.org website, which is INNERviews.org. And he also has a fantastic book, which is called Innerviews, Music Without Borders. And it's a compilation of a bunch of interviews he's done, and it's great. Chuck D is in there, and Bjork is in there, John Anderson, Bill Bruford, a bunch of people that you've probably heard of once or twice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things I really enjoyed about your book is your interview style, and I commented on this earlier in the show tonight, very unlike some of our interview style, where our rambling questions sometimes take longer than the actual answer. You have these very concise questions that allow the artist to kind of take it where they want to go, and as a result, you really get some in-depth, some answers, some insights into the way this person thinks and works, which is really cool. Which is really cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
So, who were some of the best interviews? Who did you end up with an end product that you thought, wow, that was a real insight into that person?
Well, I mean, that was kind of the end goal of all of them, and a lot of the interviews ended up being done specifically for the book. There's a guy named Bill Laswell in there that I don't know if everyone is familiar with, but a very progressive artist, a very incredibly influential artist, responsible for a lot of major fusion and world music projects, and he just opened up about the realities of the music industry and how albums are nothing more than business receipts.
Wow, that's a heavy statement.
Or the people that funded the project, and until the very recent times, the whole thing has been so directed by A&R and business side of things that it was a miracle that music of any worth got made in the last 30 or 40 years. And he goes into great detail about why certain projects are allowed to come to fruition and why certain projects aren't, and how angel investors or patrons, whether they're at the label or outside of the label, are really the enablers of making these things happen. And he also goes into incredible detail on the impact of 9/11 and how it basically stopped world music collaboration, particularly in the U.S. And he's just very, very specific, earnest, and detailed about the way the world works as a producer of music.
Right. Wow. I got some of that, too, from the Chuck D interview in the book, which I was telling Joe earlier. I think that's my favorite interview in that book because it wasn't what I was expecting at all.
You wouldn't think Chuck D was a Steely Dan fan, would you?
Well, I was just going to say, that's maybe the coolest thing ever when he talks about growing up and listening to AM radio and listening to Reelin' in the Years or the Stones. I was like, dude, what Chuck D is this? Like, I was really blown away by that. But more so with Chuck D, I was so... I guess surprised to hear him really sort of tear down his own genre of music, being rap music, and talk about why rock music is more successful even though they don't sell as many records.
Well, I mean, I agree with Chuck in that 95% of hip-hop and rap is pure crap.
Yeah, I would agree.
But, I mean, Public Enemy, some of their albums... are some of the greatest progressive pieces of music ever created. I mean,
progressive rap.
It's progressive
on the
hip-hop.
show that would think I'm crazy for saying this, but they did one album called "It Takes a Nation of Billions to Hold Us Back," and I would say if you're an adventurous music listener, that you need to listen to this album as a piece of music, as a piece of progressive rock music. And I'm not the only one who feels this way. Stephen Wilson from Porcupine Tree feels exactly the same way about this.
Right.
That it's a piece of high art.
Yeah.
And then musical pastiche and construction. So, I mean, Chuck's a very smart guy, and hopefully that's reflected.
Yeah, I don't think I ever doubted that he was a smart guy. I think I sometimes just was a little confused maybe about where he was coming from. And it felt like the message was, the music was convoluted because his message was pretty strong. And I got a little bit more of an understanding, actually, from reading the interview in your book. It seemed to make a little bit more sense. I mean, I love hearing him. You asked him some great questions about live musicians and how do you choose the live musicians and sort of what goes on stage. And I think all of that is so telling about what an understanding of music Chuck D has.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, Public Enemy is out on tour with a group of jazz fusion musicians.
Crazy.
Serious.
Crazy.
These are guys that like have fusion bands like as their side projects.
Right.
So, I mean, Public Enemy has made a lot of really bad albums too. Really, really bad, terrible albums. And
Right.
They've got like clown, like Flavor Flav doing all this stupid shit all day long. But
what's wrong with that guy?
But
besides the fact that he wears a clock around his neck, what's wrong with
Isn't that enough? Doesn't that tell you something?
I just love the fact that we're talking about Public Enemy in a prog rock show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, you know, we have no fear on this show. I really thought, like I said, I was really blown away by that interview. And as much as I liked the John Anderson interview, and which I know we want to get into a little bit, and the Bjork interview, which I thought was really great, and the Bruford interview because he's such a dick, you know, like all of that stuff is really great, and it's right up the prog alley, and it's right in that fusion world that we love, you know, notes and thinking and math. But then you throw Chuck D in there, and it's like, I mean, he's talking Vernon Reid and Steely Dan. I mean, that's all good stuff. It's another reason why everyone should go and go buy the book, Interviews, Music Without Borders. That was a nice plug, by the way.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Nicely done. Yeah, it's an excellent read, and like Brad said, some of the most interesting parts are the artists that you wouldn't expect to be interesting or as telling as they were. Somebody who I just always thought was from another planet, Bjork. It turns in a fairly coherent conversation. Did you have preconceived notions of what she was like before you did that interview, and how was that in your opinion?
Well, I mean, first of all, I was only supposed to have 5 or 10 minutes with her, and she ended up being interested enough that she just talked for 30, 40 minutes, which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, she certainly has this perception as being a very eclectic and out there personality, but I think that's just a media construction. It's fabrication. She's actually a very intelligent woman and an incredibly creative an experienced musician, and I think that's really, you can't make records like she makes without really knowing what you're doing.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a huge fan, but I think that's a very fair statement to make, for sure. So, John, I know you want to get into... All right, I have to get into John Anderson.
Okay.
Because here's the question I wanted to ask.
Sure.
When you were doing this interview, at any point, did you feel him levitating? Was he... At any point, did feet leave the ground?
He is a celestial being.
He is a celestial being.
Yes.
And
he's not like the rest of us.
He does music for the indigenous people. So my question, again, levitation, at any point did feet leave the ground? We ask the hard-hitting questions here.
No feet left the ground, but when, John talks about things like the influence of the fairies and laser energy propelling mankind into the fourth dimension.
That's so prog!
Yeah, I mean, and those are very interesting concepts. I mean, I'm having trouble dealing with the third dimension on my own here. So, but John's looking to the fourth dimension.
Well into the fourth dimension.
He's a visionary, that guy.
Yeah, and...
that's great.
So it might have been me that was levitating and happening. So
that's fair. We do that on occasion when we're at a Yes show.
Sure.
Well, when we were at an old Yes show.
Yeah.
I was just trying to. I think my body was just trying to get its head around these concepts.
Yeah.
Unsuccessfully.
That's great.
So.
What is going on with this band? What is going on with Yes? Why is John Anderson not the singer of Yes anymore?
Wow, what a question. I mean, Yes is in a pretty much disaster state and has been.
Agreed.
Since, they reformed it, in San Luis Obispo, post Trevor Rabin. I mean, it's truly been a circus.
Yeah.
Why is John not in the band? I think it's a set of, mutual issues. I think John had some specific visions for the band and specific ideas about his role within the band, and I think, he was also very much affected by the physicality of his illness. And, Yes, as they've said, chose to go a different way. They didn't want to wait anymore for John to get better. They, Steve Howe's given some pretty acidic interviews about John not wanting to participate when the rest of the band wanted to go, and I think that all plays into it. I mean, Yes has been a band of politics, of ownership, of money. I'd like to tell you that Yes is this great big cosmic love fest, but I can't really think of a group more corporate than Yes.
Isn't that ironic? I mean, isn't that
Don't you
really
think?
just? Is it? Well, when you have one hand in your pocket and the other one's giving a high five. But really,
if you go back to the 70s, there was a period of time when the music they made was truly special and spectacular and was informed by more than commerce.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
for sure.
that's fair.
When
That's fair.
Steve Howe and John Anderson were a working songwriter team, they scaled some incredible heights. But I think when all the money and negative influences, management, substances crept in from the mid to late 70s, I think ultimately resulting in the demise of the classic lineup. And then finding their feet again with, the hyper commerciality of 90825 and Big Generator. I think it just created this this gigantic, tossed salad of ideas and influences about where the band should go. They want to remain arty, but they also want to keep buying Bentleys. So, and that's why they're kind of the joke they become at the moment.
Yeah, Joe and I have talked about that a lot, actually, about the double-edged sword of writing a big hit song or having a big hit record. It allows you to do a lot of things, but then it forces you to, or you end up doing things you probably wouldn't normally do.
Yeah.
And it seems like Yes completely fell into that trap.
Yeah, I think an album like Open Your Eyes pretty much sums it all. I think that record had one goal and one purpose, and that was for Chris Squire to keep paying his rainbow bar tab. That was pretty much it. Yeah,
I think all of the band members had an interest in relaunching the band from a commercial perspective, and I mean, obviously they're making a band album with Trevor Horn again, so or for this album called Fly From Here, which I think is out in just a few weeks, and that no one really knows anything about, really. Sonically.
Right, which is just fine.
Yeah, and they've got that kind of mimic guy standing in for John doing his kind of penguin waddle dance.
that's pretty much it.
Seriously, you got to check out the YouTube footage of this stand.
Oh, trust me, I regret it now, but I actually went to see this lineup of the band last summer. I figured, what was it, June or July, like a beautiful Saturday night in Southern California, open air theater under the stars on a glorious night, listening to some Yes. How bad could it be? It was bad. That was a rough night.
Yeah, I saw the tour as well. It was not impressive. And, good luck to them. I mean, there's a lot of young kids that are still discovering Yes, and they're still playing some classic music. And, maybe it's better that there's a Yes than no Yes, but it's pretty embarrassing what they become.
Yeah, I would hope that those kids that are discovering Yes will actually discover the real Yes. I mean, talk about being given a disservice by having to go see that.
Well, what's going to be interesting is if this album, Fly From Here, ends up being a success, commercial success.
Right.
Because if it does, it's going to propel Yes, over into Styxland and Journeyland, where they, re-record their back catalog with
It's a great point. It's something we choose not to talk about on here. But it's really a good point. And the other thing with Yes we talk about John Anderson levitating and all that stuff, but the real serious stuff with Yes is really, is, Steve Howe's wardrobe and how that hasn't changed since the 60s, and the mere fact that Chris Squire can't get out of that stupid trench coat. And I mean, there's some serious faux pas going on there. Yeah, I mean, what's happening there? I mean, let's really break this down.
They got some fashion issues there.
I mean, this is not.
It's progressive fashion.
It's progressive fashion. My ass, it hasn't changed in years, in decades.
I think it's all about Chris Squire's ass, actually.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's right.
That's fair.
It's almost offensive. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I won't lie. Although we heard a great Steve Howe story, didn't we, from Matt Scannell from
Vertical Horizon.
Vertical Horizon was on the show, and he told a great Steve Howe story just about what an unbelievably nice and generous guy he was. So
yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, well, I know. But for just a minute, it made me not think about those stupid shirts.
Just for a minute. Yeah. Is there somebody on your wish list who you've always wanted to interview that hasn't come around yet?
Well, I mean, there's three that I've always wanted to interview, and they're almost too big to be accessed by anyone.
Brad and I are here, so now you could cross those two. So who's the last one?
Okay, well, it's the two of you, and we've. I think we're going to build the next book around you guys.
Nice.
So the two of us, Jesus, and who else?
No, seriously, who are your three?
Well, Peter Gabriel, Kate Bush, Brian Eno. Those are the three I tend to name check.
That's a good three.
Yeah,
that's a good three. I'll tell you that Kate Bush interview. I'd be first in line to read or listen to that one. I am fascinated by her, and she is just, when she disappears from sight, she really disappears from sight for decades at a time. I wish we could get a tour from her. I wish we could get an album of new material as opposed to what she's working on right now. Any insights on what's going on in the Kate Bush camp?
Well, I think middle of the month, her sort of new old album Director's Cut hits.
Right.
Remakes of songs from the Red Shoes and Sensual World. Not particularly inspiring in terms of what I've heard at this point from that album.
Boy.
Yeah.
But she claims that she's working on new material for the next couple of years, and that she's even considering live appearances. So,
man, that would be the first. It would be the first tour since '79.
Yeah, I imagine she'll do it in a novel way. She'll probably do 1, 2, 3, or 4 shows, and
right.
Make a 3D HD DVD out of it or something.
Sure.
3D HD DVD. That's great.
It's better than a 3D HD DVD of Chris Squire's.
And sell it on QVC.
Yeah. Which actually is coming, I believe.
A 3D HD DVD?
3D HD DVD of the current Yes lineup, which we're all eagerly anticipating.
Oh, yeah. That's rough. That's rough.
Do you realize the size of Squire's ass in HD? I mean, seriously. And the colors off of Steve Howe's shirt.
It's going to be frightening. Wow. It's going to be like a Roger Dean mess on the screen.
Dude, do I listen to a Britney Spears song or do I watch the DVD?
Yeah,
do I listen to a Spears song or watch the DVD? It's tough.
It's actually an argument for watching the Britney Spears video.
It really is, and that's what does that mean when we're having that conversation? Yes is in deep shit. All right, man. I got one more question I want to ask you about the book, and it's the most obvious one that I'm sure everybody asks you about the book, but because we don't want to stray from the obvious here, I have to ask you: how did you choose which interviews you wanted to put together for this?
Well, the book initially started as sort of being a best of the website, and as people found out that the book was happening, a lot of doors started opening up, and a lot of artists came forward and just offered to be part of it just for the book. So it ended up being sort of this hybrid of again, best of the website and brand new stuff like Bjork and Chuck D and Tangerine Dream and a great guitarist named David Torrance. And so as the Bailoff Black Victor Woot, and so as sort of exclusives came up, I decided to put more of a focus on the new stuff, to make it interesting for people that have been following the site for a decade and a half.
Right.
Really draw people into the fold. So, and the goal was also to really have diversity and cross-pollination. Hopefully, I mean, one of the goals was if you were only interested in half of the artists in the book, and you'd never heard of the other half, that maybe you would thumb through those chapters, maybe discover those people as well.
It's awesome.
Nice.
It's great. It's a great book. And I would recommend anybody who's listening tonight, if you haven't checked out the book, Innerviews, Music Without Borders, it's really, I really enjoyed it. Really, really enjoyed it.
And I think all our listeners will. So we really appreciate you coming on. Best of luck with the book. Before we let you go, 3 rapid-fire questions we always like to ask our guests.
And if you listen to the Neal interview, you know it's coming. It's almost not fair.
That's true. What was the first record you ever bought?
Well, like I said, it was the self-titled Genesis album from
Yeah, that's a good place to start.
Yeah, fair.
That's a good place to start. If you weren't a writer, journalist, published author,
music aficionado, really cool guy.
What else do you think you'd be doing now?
Well, believe it or not, I was going to be a TV news anchorman in the middle of nowhere in Canada.
You got the voice for it.
This is great. Where in Canada?
Like in the middle of the province, Manitoba.
Fantastic. You know, actually, the site that we broadcast out of, I know we're on usebin.com, but the main site, purerockradio.org, is out of Canada. And we're sort of Canadian by proxy because we like Canadian rock bands.
A lot of cool acts that come out of there, yeah.
$10 is $10, eh?
Hey, 10 bucks.
And which leads us to our third and final and most important question. If you were trapped on a desert island and you could only bring one Rush album with you, what would it be?
Hey.
Right, I'm going to so diverge from the norm and say Presto.
Oh,
nice!
Yeah.
Everybody's got to deviate from the norm. Nice.
That is one of my favorite one of my favorite Rush albums. I love that record.
Little scars, little war paint for you.
War paint. Come on, hand over fist. We can go on and on about
little
that
available
record.
light. Can a brother get a little available light?
Available light?
That's all I'm saying. You know,
I think it's the most underrated Rush album.
I would agree.
Absolutely.
And one of the ones that they absolutely ignore when it comes time to put the set list together.
And drives us nuts.
Presto and Caress of Steel. You're just not going to get those songs.
Or Tai Shan.
Or Tai
Off
Shan.
Under Fire. Which really pisses me off. That's the only thing missing from Presto is Tai Shan. Otherwise, it's the perfect record.
That's a pretty rare view. I'm glad you guys dig it as well.
We've gone into we probably have lost listeners because we've dug so deep into the Presto issue and the fact that it's not played live, and then the mere fact that on this tour, which I don't know if you've seen this tour or not, but they're obviously doing all the moving pictures, but the rest of the set, the song they chose off of Presto is Presto, which is such a random weird choice. What happened to War Paint and Scars? Those are such great live songs.
Well, I mean, Presto's a pretty great song as well.
Sure.
Probably they're one of their best use of acoustics.
But what an odd choice.
Yeah, you would think
it's just a weird.
You would think The Pass or Show Don't Tell would be the obvious choices, or Anagram for Mongo.
That I always worry about. Anagram
I always worry about that one.
Always.
All right,
the Presto tour was phenomenal. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Of course.
Come on now, the rabbits coming out of the hat.
The rabbits.
Dude, his drum solo was just beautiful.
You're in
tour.
a Presto-friendly zone right now,
That's
so
right.
it's okay.
That was the most fun Rush gig I've ever seen.
I think I might agree with that, although
there's more comedy on the screen these days, but just the joy of playing
back then, right?
The joy of playing was pretty evident back then, though.
But
as soon as the rabbits popped up, I was like, there are very few bands that could take the piss out of themselves like
That's
this.
right.
Absolutely. No, I would agree. The only other thing was the fact that they could play moving pictures, or not moving, 2112 in its entirety. That's my favorite Rush show.
Yeah, that was big.
That was the greatest ever. All right, Anil, thank you so much, man, for coming on. The book is great, and everyone needs to go check out the website, innerviews.org, INNERviews.org. And we would love to talk to you again, man, when you got more stuff going on. And if there's something you really need to talk to us about, we're going to be here for you.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Anil, man. Talk to you soon.
All right, see you. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Yeah, man, it's a good book. It's a solid read, and if you're a prog fan or a jazz fan or a fusion fan, it's good stuff. Dude, the Chuck D interview. I was still so like.
You like that one?
Oh yeah, because it's sort of out of the blue. Like he said, dude, the guy talks about listening to Reelin' in the Years. And that's pretty random.
That is pretty random.
Yeah. So, all right.
Why don't we go to a tune, catch our breath, and then we'll come back and we will talk music news with one Rachel, the Metal Warrior Princess. She's in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Dude, it's all good.
We have Big Four to talk about.
Yeah.
We have Prince to talk about, possibly. We have Rachel, the Metal Warrior Princess. To talk about everything music news?
Can I give you a little teaser?
No.
One of the highlights of my Big Four experience was the moment that Metallica did this.
What are you listening to? Used Bin Radio.
That's nice.
Hey, boys and girls. Thanks for joining us here tonight on Used Bin Radio. We are rocking out. That was a little Metallica for you. Hope you enjoyed it. Hey.
It's Aerobicide with Night Radio.
It's times like these we need a Skype.
Yeah. If you could only see us now.
Tush. Work that tush.
We got the brother man Richard Simmons video going on over here.
Aerobicide.
Yes, indeed. It looks like a Steve Walsh fest. Did anybody else get that reference? I guess not. Anyway, that was a little Metallica. We saw Metallica at the Big Four just 2 weeks ago, and so in just a little bit, we're going to give you our full recap of the massiveness and epicness and hugeness that is the Big Four in India. But before any of that, do you know what time it is, brother man? Do you know what time it is?
Time to get ill?
Yes, that's right. It's informational warrior princess to tell you all about the music news. All your music news needs are here on Music Radio. Just not going to happen. Hey, Rach. How's it going?
Hi, Joe. Hi, Brad.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Hi, Rach. Okay, we're having some fun tonight. Back to the Night Ranger.
What's going on, Rach?
So, what's going on with you?
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
But we won't get into that.
There's a lot going on.
We'll get into the music news.
Okay.
You know, there's been a few arrests this past weekend. Starting with Rick Springfield, of all people.
Really? I haven't heard about
Mr.
this.
Squeaky Clean got arrested on a DUI charge, and he was released on bail. Thought I'd make a quick mention of that. But really, since we were talking about Chuck D, we got to talk about Flavor Flav.
Okay, let's do that.
He also got arrested.
Really?
In Las Vegas. He was pulled over, shall I say, Mr. Flav was pulled over on a routine traffic violation, and cops discovered several outstanding warrants for driving without a license, driving without insurance, and several parking violations.
I'm shocked.
I know.
That's just shocking.
Not him.
He didn't get cited for driving without a stupid watch around his neck, did he? They didn't cite him for that?
They didn't cite him for that.
Good. Because that would be a travesty if he got caught without that stupid watch.
It'd be nice to see him try and swing it and knock out the cop and get away and get a real juicy story.
And then smile with those beautiful gold teeth of his.
Ding!
So silly.
That probably wasn't a big surprise, but he was also released on bail.
Right. Not a good week for drinking and driving.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I'm with you. I didn't get caught drinking and driving. Janie Lane didn't get caught drinking and driving this week.
Not this weekend.
Which is good. Thank God for that. And neither did Vince Neil. Because he learned his lesson.
Yeah. Well, there's always next weekend, Vince.
That's right. Whatever.
We're rooting for you.
Are you in for the Motley Poison tour? Yay or nay? Thumbs up, thumbs down, quick.
Boo.
Wow, there you go. I'm with you. That was a thumbs down.
How about you, Joe?
No, he's no bueno.
No bueno.
Yeah, no thanks.
No. But the New York Dolls, I'm in. No, I'm just kidding. No bueno.
Only if Stevie Nicks is on the Motley Crue bill.
Do you know who
really funny.
Do you know who the president of the New York Dolls fan club was in the 70s?
Barack Obama.
Morrissey.
Really?
True story.
Interesting.
Okay.
That's why he was solely responsible for the reunion show that they did at some English festival. I forget which festival it was. Just before one of the founding members died. He was responsible for bringing that all together.
Well, who would have thought? No wonder he doesn't have sex anymore. I'm not sure.
Or any less.
Well, it depends on if the bottle's half full.
Or totally empty.
Hey, did you hear that Osama bin Laden was killed?
Who?
Can you believe it?
They shot Obama? Is that what you just said?
Yeah. You know, I just want to make a quick mention of how stupid the radio stations are.
Oh, why is that?
Like KLOS, we talk about them. Right after they were announcing it on the radio, he said, "Now we can all rest easy," and he played "Imagine" from John Lennon, which is the antithesis of
That's right.
of what that song is about.
That's exactly right.
Might as well have played "Born in the USA."
Yeah.
You know?
Well, exactly.
Okay. We played "America Fuck Yeah" from Teen Police World. What is it?
Well, that's more appropriate.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how they're really selling it.
Fuck yeah! I love that song.
I don't know. You know, it actually, I didn't feel good about this.
Neither did Joe.
Neither did I.
Yeah.
Just before we went on air, I said, it's great that this is the close of a chapter in a political movement, but seeing people literally with beach balls bouncing around and dancing in the streets,
and singing
I think you're missing the point. I think you're succumbing to a different kind of mentality here, and I think you're missing the big picture. I'm not the only one who feels that way. I know I saw, not to get onto a political slant now, but I saw Giuliani, who was on the morning news today, standing where the Twin Towers were, which was, I guess, a very appropriate and poignant place for him to be doing in his interview this morning, saying that he can't condone the behavior of the people that were outside of the White House last night. Well, when they got the word. But somebody else who also shares my opinion, I think, had this quote: "The death of Osama bin Laden does not inspire me to celebrate, rather to mourn the many who've died in this pointless conflict of ideals." Anyone? That would be
Morrissey.
Simon Le Bon, Duran Duran.
Oh, well, coming from Simon Le Bon, I've changed my whole opinion.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, God, because, he's hungry like the wolf.
Hey, don't save a prayer for him now.
Hey, hold back the rain. All right.
I'm trying to work the reflex in here, but it ain't going to happen.
That's because there's girls on film. Okay, let's keep going. What else you got in the news, Rach? I'm not getting into the politics part of it.
Yeah. Well, I just want to, the whole reason I was bringing that up was that the fact that they played Imagine, which is music related, I can't believe.
Awful. Bad taste.
Yeah. So anyways, back to the music news. Richie Sambora will be sitting out the rest of the Bon Jovi North American tour. The guitarist has checked into rehab, and it's unknown when he'll rejoin the band. Phil X, who's also played with Alice Cooper, Rob Zombie, and Triumph, will be his replacement temporarily. So
tragic. I think, and I'll tell you why. If John wants to go on tour as John Bon Jovi, great. More power to you. Bring it to the fans. But if you're going to call this thing Bon Jovi, I think those two guys together are Bon Jovi. You could even sit Tico out.
What?
You could even sit out Tico Torres.
What?
But you can't sit out Richie. Wanted Dead or Alive is 50% Richie, and people want to hear those hits. And I think it's important you have those two together. Otherwise, it's a John Bon Jovi solo tour. That's my feeling.
Yes, but if you ask John, Bon Jovi is 100% John Bon Jovi.
Ooh.
Well, that's because he's the president of that corporation.
Okay.
I think that says it all.
You've made my point. I don't agree with it, but that's my point. It's shitty. But yeah, what do I care, man? I'm not going to see that stupid tour. I don't give a shit.
That's true. That's fair. That's fine. Why are we getting so worked up about this? Let's get back to Chuck D or something. Something important.
Dude, reeling in the years.
Reeling in the years, man.
What else you got, Rich?
Oh, there you go.
Wait.
I think this requires explanation.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Wait, you have to listen first.
I'm walking away. Like dear Abby told me. I'm walking away. My shrink gave his okay.
This is Steve Martin in the Deep Canyon Rangers. So this is the bluegrass thing. I love this tune. I'm a fan. I'm not going to lie. Listen to this record.
I cannot listen to this without picturing him in a white suit with an arrow through the head. As good as he is, that's the visual, right?
My best friends
Would it shock you if I told you that he does a bluegrass version of King Tut?
Would not shock me. But does he bring Richie Sambora out on tour with him when he does it?
No, because he's in rehab.
No bueno.
Listen to him going off. That's a bad boy right there, yo.
He's officially one of the best banjo players in the world.
When you said that
a
month ago, or whenever you said it, it made me go buy this record.
I love him.
You're the reason I bought this record.
Oh, good.
True fact. I love it. I think this record's great.
He's great.
And this is such a Steve Martin song because it's silly. If you listen to the lyrics, he's just silly.
And you could play it on the canoe with your hunting buddies when you go to the Deep South. Just trying to offer some visuals.
Well, Richie Sambora won't be there. He's in rehab. All right, Rach, what else you got?
Okay, well, here's another fun little contest I like to always bring up.
Oh, nice.
A little contest.
Like the Alphabetical Rush contest. I like this. Where are we going tonight?
Okay, well, Marshall has launched their second Ultimate Band Contest. This year's prizes includes a Marshall endorsement, equipment, a track mastered at Metropolis Studios, and a spot on the Download Festival in 2012.
Wow, that's a nice prize package.
Yeah. So, anybody who's in a band, if you want to go check it out and see what it's all about and enter, you can go to www.marshallubc.com.
Nice.
And enter.
Is that Marshall as in Marshall, Will, and Holly?
Oh, Marshall Amplifications.
Oh, it's not Land of the Lost.
That was fair.
That was reasonable, right?
That's a reasonable question.
Thank you. Yeah.
Could have been Marshall J. Portnoy.
That's true. What was Will Ferrell in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back? He was Marshall Will and Holly.
Marshall Will and Holly. on a routine expedition.
Oh, that's so great. He was like, what was he, the forest ranger or something?
That's right. That was
the best part of that movie, was him. He was the best part of that movie.
Totally agree.
Marshall Will and
Holly.
Genius.
On a routine expedition.
Love it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a fan.
All right. Very nice.
Okay, so now this isn't quite news, but it is news to me, so we'll talk about it. Sammy Hagar has just recently been talking to Forbes.com, and I'm going to quote this. Hold on. Ready? Here we go.
You're do it.
Hold on tight.
Here
we go. I was asked at one time to be in Motley Crue. I was asked at one time to be in Pantera by their management. I was asked to be in Velvet Revolver when Scott Weiland quit and went back to Stone Temple Pilots. I was waiting to be asked to be in Led Zeppelin to say no. Since they were the greatest band on earth and nobody could replace Robert Plant. I was asked to be in Aerosmith, and I said no. Certain bands and certain frontmen singers were more difficult to replace than others. Steven Tyler and that band have stayed together for 40 years, and you don't walk into something like that. End quote.
I was asked to be the lead singer of Bon Jovi, but then John made Richie hang up the phone and the conversation ended.
I mean, really, do you think he was asked to be in Pantera?
That's just odd. I don't even know why you come forward with something like that.
Or even Velvet Revolver?
Yeah, I'll tell you the truth. If you think about it, it's probably right. It probably happened on some level. But like Joe just nailed it. Really? Is that something you come forward and talk about? Because you sound like a douche.
Especially when you say, I was waiting to be asked by Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, there's no benefit to making that statement. I mean, I was asked to be in this band, but I didn't do it. So it's basically all hearsay. And here I'm giving it to you. And why? What's
no benefit.
No bueno, Sammy. No bueno. Stick with the tequila.
Hey, it's the benefit for Mr. Kite. What can I tell you?
Actually, didn't he sell the tequila?
Yeah,
he made bank, right?
$100 million.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. So now we could afford a ticket to the next Van Halen tour. That's nice.
Yeah, so Brad, isn't it making David Lee Roth look a little better now?
No. Believe me, there's enough history with David Lee Roth to counteract all of that kind of stuff. Okay, the mere fact that the guy tried to be a radio show host.
Hear me out there!
Really? Mr. David Lee Roth, do you think you could do what we do? Do you think that you could handle what we handle? Can you be what we are? No is the answer. N-capital-O, no way. Dude.
Maybe if he fired... Maybe if he fired his coke dealer, he can do a radio show. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. Although, the funny thing about it is, talk about coming full circle, and we've said this before, but doesn't he come off as being the most normal one now in Van Halen? It's so weird.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Because you don't hear any quote from Alex. He's just like, Eddie won't let him talk, right?
And Eddie's paying his mortgage.
And Wolfie knows better because he's not going to say anything bad about his dad. He'll ground him with no Xbox
or his uncle,
right? And so that leaves Dave, the voice of reason.
Unbelievable.
Welcome to 2011, ladies and gentlemen.
Now we're talking about current members, not Michael Anthony.
It's just weird. I mean, I don't know what that means. It's just sort of coming full circle. If Dave is the voice of reason and, Sammy's out there being douchey like this, it's just stupid. But it doesn't change how I feel musically.
Well, we're all waiting for that documentary, so hopefully one day soon we'll get that.
That's right. All right, Rach, do you have another one, or you want to, what do you want to do? Your call.
Well, I want to hear about the Big Four.
Okay, we could probably do that.
So,
to the Big Four.
2 weeks ago, we went to the Big Four. It was really good. What next? You got any news stories for us, right?
We went to the Big Four. Metallica played, Slayer played, Anthrax played, and who else played? Slayer played.
But who opened it?
Anthrax opened it. It was really fun. We really enjoyed it. Slayer sucked. Thank you and good night.
All right, give me a little recap here. So the Big Four.
Did you go?
Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax in Indio at the site of Coachella. We got down there early. It was a beautiful Southern California day.
Dude, do we have enough time for you to tell this story?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. We're all good. So, it was an amazing day. And normally on a day like that, you figure that everybody's going to go in their short sleeve shirts and their flip flops and dressed for beach weather. You had some diehards out there in their leathers, and it probably reached pretty close to 100 degrees at some point during the heat of the day or thereabouts.
It didn't feel like it.
But no, it ended up cooling off nice later though.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it because of the breeze.
Right, but. No, but it was a great day, and like I said, it's at the site of Coachella, which means it's set up really beautifully. Not only do you have this big, massive stage with the big screens on the side of the stage, and really, I think, impeccable sound for a big outdoor event like that.
Yep.
But you just have, as far as the eye can see, off in the distance, the whole perimeter is lined with little shops and places to eat and places to drink and little shaded areas and misting tents areas and all kinds of stuff going on, and so we had a chance to kind of walk around and get a feel for the place beforehand. And everybody, I think you would agree, Brad, everybody was in really good form and good behavior for such a metal crowd. Not to say that they're always ill behaved. I'm not like trying to sound like like some old dude, but everybody was really like, hey dude, this is great. Everybody was really pumped, but nobody was like killing each other. No. Even down in the mosh pit, you could see there was a level of organized chaos and respect. There was, it was going on down there.
Well, that kind of venue really lends itself to people not being such dicks because it's so spread out. So you're not constantly like pushing some dude to get to the front for 6 hours while you're waiting for 4 bands, and at the end of the night, finally Metallica comes on. That kind of venue doesn't lend itself to that. There's so much room to spread out. I mean, look, dude, I took a nap during Anthrax on the grass.
That's right. At one point, we put out our beach towels. You didn't have to be jam-packed with the masses because it's so huge and so spread out on these sprawling lawns of polo grounds. You could sit, a couple hundred yards away from any other human being if you want, and still see it and hear it, and it's all good because it's so big.
Yeah, at one point I had gas and nobody knew.
Oh, I knew.
I mean, it was
I knew.
Well, that's because you kept trying to get close to me. You kept listening to Queensryche and you wanted to get close to
you. At one point Brad even took a nap. That's absolutely true. But so Anthrax came on. Thoughts on Anthrax?
I've seen Anthrax a million times, and every time I see him, it's like, an Anthrax set, whatever. This was by far, the best Anthrax set I've seen in probably since the first couple times I saw them.
Brad,
they were absolutely fantastic.
Brad, I am in total agreement with you, dude.
Thank you, my friend Joe Mama. I just want to say one thing really quick. The only thing that was so funny about Anthrax, and obviously this is in retrospect after seeing all four bands, but is that, Joey Belladonna still has that, like, dude, we're Anthrax, fuck yeah, dude, we're Anthrax, America! Right. Pretty much. Like, the rest of the bands were like, we are the elder statesmen of rock, and we are going to destroy you. Yeah. And they acted like that. Whereas Joey Belladonna couldn't. He was a little confused. He wasn't sure if he was at Palladino's or if he was at Indio. That's exactly it. It was great.
The difference between modern day Anthrax and modern day Motley Crue is that one of them, you have 4 guys who are ready to play Castle Donington. The other one, you have a couple of guys who are ready to play Castle Donington, and the other who's ready to shred you at the whiskey.
Right.
And there's something still exciting and dangerous about it. And I've seen them many, many times, usually as the opening act for somebody else, because I don't think I ever went out of my way to go to an Anthrax show.
But they always opened for Ozzy.
Yeah, they were always opening for somebody, and they were always, to me, not quite entertaining. It was just kind of going through the motions. It never really slayed me.
That's right.
And this time they killed. Quick recap, they opened with Caught in a Mosh, Got the Time, Madhouse, Among the Living, Antisocial, Indians, when Joey Belladonna came out with the big Indian headdress.
I saw that at the Whiskey one night.
Fight 'Em Till You Can't, Metal Thrashing Mad, and I Am the Law.
They were just great. And the best part of that set for me, Charlie Benante. That guy is better than I've ever remembered him being. I mean, he was like elite level good, I thought, that day. He was really spectacular.
Agreed.
I was surprised. I thought really, because the last time we saw Anthrax was a couple years ago with the Silly Singer.
Yeah, the tribute band singer.
Right, and they were just god awful.
They were terrible.
Yeah, and this was
the real deal. They are in fine form right now, and so 2 thumbs up on the Anthrax. And then Brad woke up from his nap, and we went and got a little frozen lemonade and walked around and
come on.
Went to the misting tents.
Come on. Leave what little penis I have left alone, all right?
So then we got in position, as they say, for Megadeth.
Jeez.
Look out.
My goodness.
Thoughts on Megadeth?
Whatever. I mean, they're good. They're really good, I guess. But I think the weakest part of that band is Dave Mustaine's voice. It's just so boring. He's not interesting to me. They can play really well. It's just...
That's a fair comment about the voice.
I just feel when I see Megadeth, I just feel blah. I don't get. There's no peaks and valleys for me. It's just very blah.
I've been to Megadeth shows. Again, I've seen this band many times over the years, and I've been to Megadeth shows where they have just boring sets. In fact, the last time I saw them, when it was arguably the big 3, when it was Anthrax, Megadeth, and Slayer here in Los Angeles, which was like a little preview of the big 4 to come. I thought that Megadeth show was one of the worst I'd ever seen, because they were playing one of their albums in its entirety, and it was because it was paced really badly, like an album and not like a concert. And again, Dave's voice was not great that night. But at the Big 4 show, I would disagree. I thought they were really good, because the band, although Dave's voice was a little weak, I have to admit that, the band were so tight. And of all the bands playing that day, I don't know if I'd call them progressive, but there was something very intricate about what they were doing, and I really enjoy that. I really enjoy that.
I agree with that. I really do. It just isn't earth-shattering.
Yeah,
it's just sort of like on the border of being good and great, and it never crosses the line. So it's good.
It's like these 4 bands, the fact that they're grouped together, in conversation and on tour, there's a reason for that. I mean, they all really kind of started from the same origin, the same starting point of the music they were playing. It was just one of them, kind of strayed deeper into the garage. One of them strayed deeper into horror movies. Mm-hmm. One of them, dominated the planet. Mm-hmm. And one of them, must have been listening to some Dream Theater or Queensryche albums or something along the way.
They just wanted to outplay everybody.
Yeah,
and they're like I said, it's. I don't want you to get the idea that I think they suck, because I don't. They never cross the line of great. They're just good. And Dave Mustaine's voice, I just think he whines. He whines or he growls, and both of them are like,
it's true,
silly.
It's true. But they
hello me.
But they were not playing one of their albums in its entirety. They gave a great set list. I thought they really delivered. Real quick recap: they did Trust, In My Darkest Hour, Hangar 18, Wake Up Dead, Poison Was the Cure, She-Wolf, Sweating Bullets, Head Crusher, À tous les moments, Symphony of Destruction, which for me was a highlight. I just love that song. I thought they really raised the bar at that moment during the set. Peace Sells and Holy Wars. A great set. I thought they turned in a quality performance, and I was pleased.
You can't ask for a better choice of sets.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
And then came
the circus came to town, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
Yeah, Slayer. I'm not sure what to say about this. Again, seen them before, never really gotten the Slayer thing, but I'm getting more and more clarity on what I don't like about this band, and I could pinpoint it in one direction. Kerry King. Yeah, the guy is just all wrong for this band.
I have 4 words for you.
What?
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I would agree. You got a singer who is, shredding his lungs out. You got a drummer who's shredding. You got a rhythm guitar player who is shredding. They're singing about scary things. It's heavy. It's really, really angry. Boom. And then CeCe DeVille with a bald head steps up and goes and throws these little whammy bar solos from 1983. I'm ready for him to put on like some neon knee pads and toss his guitar over his shoulder in his Winger t-shirt. I just don't know what's going on with this. There's something very wrong here.
Yeah, man, they are silly. They are one-dimensional, ridiculous. Kerry King plays the same damn thing during every single song. It is... I can't tell you, it was painful to watch that band. And there are such devout Slayer fans. And I'll be honest with you, they're not even in the big 180 to me. They are so bad.
They were so bad.
They're just... It's just ridiculous.
And for any of you Slayer diehards out there right now who are saying, well, but Jeff Hanneman wasn't with them, because of his flesh-eating disease. No. He joined them on stage for the last 2 songs. And the difference between the regular set and the last 2 songs, Brad, was... Nothing. Yeah, it was rough. It was really rough. Hey, for all you diehard Slayer fans out there, though, you'll be happy to know that they premiered a brand new song.
Which sounded like
the first every other song.
They're just,
it was rough.
Not to belabor the point, but they are just not good.
Yeah.
They had no business on that bill.
Yeah. I think the next
let
album...
alone not headlining, but being the third act on that bill.
I think the new album should have been called World Painted Cheese. I'm not even going to go through their set list.
I think it should be called Again and Again and Again and Again and Again.
And the circus comes to town.
Silly.
Ringling Brothers presents Slayer!
With the ringmaster, Kerry King, ladies and gentlemen.
So then, to save the day, our heroes came up, and Metallica turned in a monster of a set. A monster of a set. When was the last time you saw Metallica, by the way?
It's been a while. That's a good 10 years.
Had you seen them since Jason left?
No. So maybe longer than 10
Rachel
years.
has? I did. What did you think of them when you saw them? And was it the Saint Anger tour, and were they playing a lot of the crap?
It was off this the most recent
album. You saw Death Magnetic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
what did you think?
I thought they were really good.
Yeah.
They played in the round. They were at the we saw them at the Forum.
Okay.
But I was very surprised by accidentally the audience. There were a lot of very young kids, to the point where they were there with their dad. Their dad had to take them.
That's cool.
They were maybe 11 years old, and I was shocked. I saw more young kids there than He was either very young or late 30s, mid 40s. It was interesting, but they were good.
That's very cool.
They definitely had a lot of heart into it. They're trying to, definitely play that throwback to the old Metallica that you want to see. So they did give you what you wanted.
And they certainly did that the night of the Big Four. They knew the crowd they were catering to, and so they wasted no time. They dove right back into the old bag of tricks, and they opened up with Creeping Death and For Whom the Bell Tolls and Ride the Lightning and Fade to Black. Then they started hitting you with some of the bigger stuff, Sad But True, Welcome Home, One, Master of Puppets. Like I said earlier, they did a version of Blackened that just kicked my ass. It was possibly the heaviest version of Blackened I've ever heard, and probably the heaviest moment of the entire day. It was large.
Yep.
It was large, and there was no Kerry King anywhere to be seen at that point.
Thank God.
They did Orion. Let's talk about that for a second. When was the last time that happened?
Yeah, I guess that was a tribute to Cliff Burton. And,
yeah.
I mean, that was really, talk about out of the blue. Right. I think the last time they did that was probably when they were doing Masters in its entirety.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean,
yeah, you don't get that too often.
Go ahead, finish the set, and then I'll tell you.
So then, after Black and Nothing Else Matters, they closed the main portion of the set with Enter Sandman before they came back for the Big Thor Jam.
Whatever.
They brought basically everybody out from all four bands. On some level, it was kind of cool to see Hetfield and Mustaine sharing a mic for a moment. That's nostalgic, but it was watered down and cheapened by the presence of too many other people for me.
Yep.
If they would have brought Mustaine out for one of the old songs or something, that would have been much more interesting to me.
Yep.
Like if they brought Mustaine out for they ended up closing with Hit the Lights and Seek and Destroy. If Mustaine would have come out for that would have been a highlight.
If he just would have sang it, the whole song.
Yeah, but instead they brought everybody out and they did a big, rousing 36 people on stage version of Am I Evil, and it was fine.
Took
but
them forever to get together.
Yeah,
too.
It wasn't worth the time that it took to put together.
This Metallica set was so good. They are so head and shoulders better than any of those other three bands out there. As good as Anthrax was, and Megadeth was fine, and Slayer was silly. Metallica is so head and shoulders better than anybody else. They are just really that good. And Hetfield is really that good. And they just nailed every single thing they wanted to do. They did. They did it better than anybody else could do it. They're such a fine-tuned, well-oiled machine. Just spectacular. And
so you liked them, is what you're saying.
Listen, I love the new record. I'm a big Death Magnetic fan. I've defended it many times on this show. But that was the weakest part of the set, were those two songs. When you open up with Creeping Death and For Whom the Bell Tolls, it's like, come on, man, don't go anywhere past that, Just go to And Justice and stay there. Don't go anywhere else. And so it's tough, although Fuel is such a great live song, and so I enjoyed that, but they're just really, really good. Master of Puppets was unreal.
Enormous.
Unbelievable.
As was One.
Yep.
Which, tended to be a little overplayed for a little while there, but still satisfies. That is a monster live.
They're just a different band live. They're just on a whole nother level than anybody else. And to see Master of Puppets with 50,000 people, it's a pretty serious charge that goes through your body when you see that. It's really good.
No doubt. So all in all, I think it was a tremendous day because we had three amazing bands and a little comedy thrown in for good measure.
That was good though. We got a chance to eat, relax, sort of gear up for the big show.
Exactly. It all worked out good.
That was like intermission.
The only downside I think was the traffic trying to get out of Indio.
Do you have a minute? You should tell that story. That's a funny. Well, I'll tell you really briefly, is that we were trying to get out of Indio, and we got in our car, and then it's just gridlock, and you're in a field where there's nothing, and it's just gridlock. You can't get anywhere. So I put on Neal Morse's Lifeline record, and Joe got out of the car, and he said, let me just go kind of take a look around. And sure enough, Joe ends up guiding us, weaving us through a series of different...
Yeah, follow me. I'm going to take you I found a secret pathway.
Yeah, different cars and different paths. And, it still took us well over an hour to get out of there, but it would have taken us about 4 had Joe not guided us. And what was so funny about it is every time he would say, no, just come this way, follow me this way, we'd cut off 12 more cars. And he'd go, no, move to the right a little bit. 6 more cars we'd cut off. And then we got sort of to the gate where we could get onto the main road. And I said, Joe, can't we just turn left? And he goes, I don't know, you feeling adventurous? I'm like, dude, we've just cut off every car in the parking lot. Fuck yeah, I feel adventurous. Let's hit this thing. It was great. It was just a really and nobody followed us, which I couldn't figure out. It worked out really good. That was a very fun end of that night.
Yeah.
And then we listened to Prince all the way home.
Yeah. Because we're getting close to the end of the show here, we're just going to wrap up, but we'll leave you with a few. We'll plant a few seeds now and let you know that we caught one of the 21 nights in Los Angeles that Prince is doing at the Forum. I'm going to be catching another one this weekend. So next week I will give you the full recap on the Prince shows, which are just amazing. Also, while we were at the Big Four, who was doing a book signing session but Eddie Trunk of That Metal Show himself. We had a chance to talk to Eddie, and we are working right now on securing Eddie for an upcoming episode of Used Bin Radio in the next few weeks. So we should have that to look forward to.
Very exciting.
As I mentioned earlier, in 2 weeks from tonight, May 17th, because you demanded it and because I wouldn't let it go, we will have a member of Marillion in this room, ladies and gentlemen.
Can I just can I sort of do that again?
Yeah.
Because Joe wanted it and Joe made it happen.
That's right.
And there's nothing wrong with that because I'm excited as hell about it.
So Ian Mosley from Marillion will be here, fresh back from the Marillion conventions, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too, and I think our buddy Kyle's going to be very excited because he's a big Marillion fan. So
sure,
that's very good. I'm excited about that.
So we got all of that going on, and all of that coming up.
Yeah, we have lots coming up too. We're going to get you a Dredge interview coming up soon, and very excited for the release of their new record. So we have a lot going on, but I think that we should probably thank some people.
Let's thank a few people.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Hey, let's thank Rich at Pure Rock Radio.
Thanks, Rich.
Hey, let's thank Terry Edwards and Max Krasny at the beautiful Westwood One.
Thanks, guys.
And maybe we should thank Rob Wilson and Chris Stone for usebin.com.
Thank you, boys.
And go to usebin.com, say hello. Go to our Facebook page and say hello. And follow us on Twitter at usebin.com.
We also want to remind you that because we're big fans of GoDaddy.com, we want to remind you that if you go to GoDaddy.com and use coupon code POD167, you'll be supporting Used-Bin Radio and our pals at usebinradio.net. So check out the complete list of coupon codes at purerockradio.net/
Not Axel.
GoDaddy, and be sure to say hi to your mom for me.
Hola, mama. How about that?
That's pretty good.
All right, man, that was a good show tonight. Neal Morse, fantastic.
I would like to thank Neal Morse.
Yes,
for braving the sore throat and hanging with us.
Yes, go get the new record, May 23rd, Testimony 2.
That's
and then
right.
Go see him on tour, May 19th through the 28th.
And we'd also like to thank
a 3-hour tour, by the way, 3-hour show from Neal Morse.
That's like Gilligan's Island.
Wow. Marshall Willenholly.
We'd also like to thank
ANIL Prasad
with his Innerviews book,
Music Without Borders. Go to Innerviews, INNERviews.org. He is a champion. Love that guy. He is a wealth of knowledge as far as prog and fusion and jazz and just music in general. And
Steve Howe's wardrobe.
Steve Howe's wardrobe and Chuck D.
Yeah.
Dude, just buy the book for the Chuck D interview.
Just do it.
It's
just
so good. All right, Mother, there's one thing left for me to say.
Which is?
And I've been meaning to say it to you all night.
Go ahead.
God damn it, it's been nice to see you.
And to see you, brother man, has been nice.
Hey, good night, Rach.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
See you next week, 7 p.m. Pacific time, usedbin.com.
Used Bin Radio. What are you listening to?
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
You're listening to the live internet broadcast on Pure Rock Radio.
At purerockradio.net.